What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 5 MHA Chapter 101 You Ride Me, again. Bakugo Katsuki gasped and stared at Chi Feng and Midoriya Izuku grimly. Damn it, damn it.
It was like this every time. He worked so hard and tried so hard but didn't achieve the result he wanted. Chi Feng was already very strong. That's fine, it's that he even surpassed him for a long time. Although he used some methods for a long time, he still succeeded. Why is there always someone standing in front of him? Bakugo Katsuki.
Shoto Todoroki was not as extreme as Bakugo Katsuki. He glanced at Chi Feng and Midoriya Izuku, turned around and left. Izuku-kun, you are amazing. Uraraka Ochako walked towards Midoriya Izuku excitedly. Ah, classmate Uraraka. Midoriya Izuku was a little surprised. I actually got the second place, so amazing. Uraraka Ochako clenched his fists on his chest and said, I am so envious, jealous and hateful. No. Midoriya Izuku was praised by Uraraka Ochako, and his face flushed. It's just luck, I'm far worse than Chi Feng. Uraraka Ochako looked at Chi Feng standing in the middle of the field and said with a complicated expression, Izuku-san, I always feel that Chi Feng and us are not in the same world. His quirk is too strong, I really don't know how to describe it. Midoriya Izuku's heart trembled. He also thought about these issues. Now Uraraka Ochako said he really agrees. People like Chi Feng always feel a little vain. Maybe Chi Feng's strength has surpassed us too much, so he came up with these problems. Midoriya Izuku nodded and said.
At this time, Yaoyorozu Momo walked out of the passage and said tiredly, it shouldn't be like this.
Behind Yaoyorozu Momo, Mineta Minoru used the super stickiness of the purple on his head to firmly stick to Yaoyorozu Momo's back.
You roar, kill two birds with one stone, I really am a genius. Although there was blood on his head, Mineta Minoru was still immersed in beauty. What a blessing to be able to stick with Yaoyorozu Momo.
Yaoyorozu Momo turned his head weakly, and cursed weakly, shamelessly. In the first grade division, the first project is finally over. Midnight smiled and said, then, let's take a look at the final result. First place is Chi Feng in Group A. Second place is Midoriya Izuku in Group A. Third place is Shoto Todoroki in Group A. Fourth place is Bakugo Katsuki in Group A. Fifth place is Shiozaki Izaki in Group B, and sixth place is in Group B. Ida Tenya in Group A. Tokiyami Fumikage in Group A in the 8th place. Kirishima Ejiro in Group A in the 9th, and Siro Honta in Group A in the 10th place. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. It is the top 43 who passed the qualifiers.
Although some regrets, the students who were eliminated need not be discouraged.
The school has also prepared other stages for you to show themselves. Midnight licked his lips. Next, we are finally going to enter the game. It's the game. From now on, the media will be crazy about your performance.
Do it well. Okay. The second item, although I knew it a long time ago, it's still a close quarter. What exactly is it? The whip in Midnight's hand waved, and the screen turned quickly.
The first qualifier is over. The remaining 43 students are waiting in the sports festival arena for the next game. For them, their own strength is very important, but they are currently pressing on a big mountain in front of them, Chi Feng. This opponent made it difficult for them to settle down. From the first round of qualifiers, the person who was lazy in the last place suddenly broke out with such an extraordinary strength, and directly won the first place, which is stronger than the pass. Endeavor on the audience stage frowned slightly. This student named Chi Feng and his son Heng are in the same class, but judging from the current strength shown, they may be better than Heng. But so what, his son has inherited his strong blood, just because of that, and no need for another quirk. Huh, Chi Feng? Endeavor snorted, Boom will definitely defeat you. As soon as the voice falls, it's it. Midnight pointed to the screen with 3 large characters displayed on it, riding a horse. Chi Feng chuckled, horse riding warfare. Participants are required to freely form a team of 2 to 4 people to form a horse. The rules for horse riding wars are generally the same in normal times. The only difference is, each contestant will be awarded a score corresponding to the ranking obtained in the previous event. In this way, Chi Feng is the target of the public. Originally, the target of the public was the brother of Midoriya, but he snatched the limelight from the brother of Midoriya, so he should carry the pot.
It's good to share the pressure with Midoriya brother. The 10 million points can still be kept on Chi Feng, and now the only thing to consider is who to look for as a teammate. Almost everyone looked at Chi Feng, but most of them were full of worries. These 10 million points are not easy to earn, and they will be snatched away if they don't. But if it succeeds, it will instantly become the number 1, so that even the students who feel troublesome for Chi Feng have exuded fighting spirit and want to fight for it. At this time everyone began to look for their own partners in the field, that is, the horses and riders. Chi Feng swept a circle in the crowd, and then ran over with his eyes bright. Are you interested in cooperating? Chi Feng asked with a grin. Yaoyorozu Momo couldn't see any expression on his face, and pointed to himself, am I? Yeah, otherwise you think I'm talking to someone again. Chi Feng smiled, he doesn't need 2 horses and 3 horses because of his strength, 2 people are enough, one is the horse, and the other is responsible for robbing. Huh, Yaoyorozu Momo blushed and said, you mean, let me be a horse. Chi Feng immediately waved his hand and said, no, no, I am a horse, you ride me, how could it be that I ride you? Chi Feng's face flushed after the last few words, the conversation was very dirty. But, if there are so many people here with you. Yaoyorozu Momo was interrupted by Chi Feng before he finished saying, what are you afraid of, don't you know my strength? Follow me to enjoy it. Spicy, it's okay. Yaoyorozu Momo hesitated again and again, nodded and said, okay Mr. Chi Feng, I believe you. In fact, Yaoyorozu Momo also has some desire in his heart. Chi Feng's strength is so strong. If he stays at the end, he will be ranked high, so there is no need to worry.
All that is required for Chi Feng to persist to the end for the moment is a complete victory.
Damn it, you pervert. Mineta Minoru's eyes were about to burst. Chi Feng actually dared to shoot Yaoyorozu Momo at this time, and the two had to have such a close contact. Thinking of this, he almost vomited blood. 2 failed. Chi Feng feels happy, and he doesn't know how heavy Yaoyorozu Momo is. After all, she has to eat at any time to ensure enough fat to create something powerful. Chapter 102. In fact, some people still want to team up with Chi Feng. After all, Chi Feng's strength is on the bright side. Yes, he does rely on his own strength to become the first. Such players are indeed qualified. This game allows the use of Quirk in the game, but it is only a horse riding battle after all. Vicious attacks aimed at defeating the horse formation will be shown a red card and sent directly out of the field. With 15 minutes of team time, Chi Feng completed it in 1 minute. Yaoyorozu Momo also said with some worry, just the two of us. Of course, they can't catch up at my speed. It will be much more convenient for 2 people. By the way, I will take you for a drive. Chi Feng laughed. He didn't want to cooperate with other people in such a good opportunity. Yaoyorozu Momo is alone at the moment. Well, he was alone in this game. With the microphone of present Mike shouting, the game is about to begin. Come on, Chi Feng said to Yaoyorozu Momo expressionlessly. In fact, the deer had already bumped into his heart. Tusk tusk, a beautiful woman riding on his neck. Ah, it's so beautiful. Ahem, Chi Feng pretended to be calm. Why did he start to have old problems again? As soon as he returned to school, hey, a woman like a man can't resist the temptation. Since ancient times, heroes has been saddened by beauty. Yaoyorozu Momo saw that the other students were already getting ready to get on the horse. She suddenly became a little shy. If there were 2 people as horses, she wouldn't have to sit directly on Chi Feng's neck like this.
It feels embarrassing to think about it. Yaoyorozu Momo finally stepped on Chi Feng's hand and sat on his neck. Chi Feng suddenly felt the temperature coming from Yaoyorozu Momo's buttocks. Wow, that's it.
Chi Feng's heart beats very fast, and he forcibly suppressed the restlessness with his cultivation base. Although he fits in the most intimate position somewhere with Yaoyorozu Momo, Chi Feng is still aware of the current crisis and cannot be taken lightly. After standing up, Chi Feng felt that Yaoyorozu Momo's weight was definitely over 100 kilograms, but Chi Feng didn't think it was unreasonable. Instead, he felt lighter.
Yaoyorozu Momo's height is 173. A girl of this size only weighs more than 100 catties, and some parts of her are also very rich, so this weight is definitely lighter. It seems that the recent preparations for the sports festival have caused Yaoyorozu sisters to work hard and lose weight. Am I heavy? Yaoyorozu Momo asked suddenly. After all, Quirk is Quirk, physical strength is physical strength.
Some people have very strong Quirk, but their physical fitness is not high, so she is a little worried about whether Chi Feng is such a person, in case.
It would be bad if she couldn't hold on, after all, she knew her weight. Chi Feng quickly shook his head and said, Yaoyorozu sauce, you must have lost weight recently, right? Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi.
As far as Yaoyorozu Momo's weight is concerned, Chi Feng can be ignored. His 4th level Chi training base is strong enough for even 10 Yaoyorozu Momo.
Oh, I chose Yaoyorozu Momo. All Might's gaze shifted to Chi Feng's body. At this time, Yaoyorozu Momo was already riding on Chi Feng's neck. It seemed that Chi Feng was very relaxed. Only pick one person. It seems that classmate Chi Feng is very confident. The number 13 on the side said. She has only met Chi Feng a few times. The time when she was most impressed was the thundergun at the USJ facility. Although it did not cause any harm to Nomu, this courage is still commendable. If there is no Chi Feng, Senior Aizawa would suffer more injuries. For this number 13 is still very optimistic about Chi Feng. Okay, let's start. Let's count down the cruel melee together. Present Mike counted. 3.2.1. Game start. Half of the people began to rush towards Chi Feng. The purpose is obvious, want to directly earn 10 million points to get the first place. Chi Feng won't let them succeed, and said to Yaoyorozu Momo, help me, the car is about to drive. Yaoyorozu Momo hushed Chi Feng's head with both hands. Chi Feng's feet suddenly lit up, and he rushed out toward the side. Do you want to escape? Bakugo Katsuki and his team rushed over, their hands flashing, and it was already an explosion. Chi Feng waved his right hand, and a ball of thunder flashed out. After dissolving Bakugo's attack, he rushed out from the other side. Yaoyorozu sauce, if you have a chance, remember to snatch someone else's headscarf, so that we will score more. Although Chi Feng's score is already the highest, it is not wrong to grab more for the sake of safety. Yaoyorozu Momo nodded. She was riding on Chi Feng's neck to feel how fast Chi Feng is. There were at least 5 teams of horses and horses who had surrounded him just now, but they were thrown away in the blink of an eye at Chi Feng's speed. Chi Feng's speed is too fast. It would be difficult for me to catch up if I don't use the engine. Ida Tenya looked at Chi Feng's speed and it was a headache, and he even wondered if he could chase after he had a big move on. No hurry, if you can't catch up with Chi Feng, you can consider attacking others first. Shoto Todoroki obviously doesn't have the anxiety of Bakugo Katsuki. He attacked Chi Feng from the beginning. With their team's strength, the odds of winning against other teams are still high. Just like this, Chi Feng constantly shuttles through the crowd. If there is no Yaoyorozu Momo around his neck, he even feels that he is playing alone. Chi Feng, you are slower. Yaoyorozu Momo touched his forehead and said, I was fainted by you. Going down at Chi Feng's speed, he may faint before halfway through the game. Chi Feng immediately reduced his speed, but after the speed was reduced, other teams quickly surrounded him. Mono Manedo smiled and looked at Chi Feng and said, Student Chi Feng, we met again. How about a deal? Chi Feng smiled. It turns out to be Ning Ren, what's the deal? Mono Manedo didn't mean anything, I don't attack you, but you let me imitate your quirk. Chi Feng suddenly laughed, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter whether you attack or not, I don't have to touch it for you. Mono Manedo was stunned for a moment, and then a black line crossed his face. This FCK is too shameless, right? Brother Ningren, did you treat me like a brother? Enclose him. Tetsu suddenly yelled. He is the most annoyed of that kind of fast guy. He can't hit him. Just hit him, just hit him. However, Chi Feng would not give Tetsu and others a chance to besiege. He jumped up suddenly and rushed towards the sky, first to escape from this blind spot. At this moment, Yaoyorozu Momo felt a cold wind coming from behind, and she turned her head to see a dark shadow hitting the kerchief on her head. Classmate Chi Feng. Yaoyorozu Momo immediately created a half-people shield that stood in front of him. Chi Feng wouldn't be easy to turn around without air manipulation in the air, but he has the knowledge, everything within 15 meters he can see everything. A thunder and lightning struck out with his right hand, and it hit Tokiyami Fumikage's shadow firmly. After a painful cry, the shadow quickly retracted. Chapter 103. Student Chi Feng really knows how to use it. Few people know the secret of Tokiyami Fumikage. His shadow is afraid of light, and Chi Feng's quirk can restrain him. Smelly Jew, you should take care of yourself. Although your score is not as high as that of the thunder-using guy, but it is not too many. Bakugo Katsuki forced it over. Since Chi Feng can run like this, he will look for Shoju to start. Midoriya Izuku's expression became serious. Xiao Sheng is indeed very difficult, he must deal with it with all his strength. On the other hand, Chi Feng is still avoiding the siege of everyone, but these guys seem to be unable to catch up with him, even if Chi Feng has slowed down. 1A Chi Feng, like a loach, shuttles back and forth under everyone's eyelids. Is there really no way for everyone to use him? Present Mike suddenly increased the pressure on Chi Feng. Chi Feng is also speechless. What is he thinking about Present Mike? These guys were a bit irritable at first, but now they are still adding fuel to the fire. Sure enough, as Chi Feng thought, the words of Present Mike completely aroused the anger of these people. The first to bear the brunt was Shoto Todoroki. He released a circular ice wall to narrow the range of Chi Feng's escape. 5 teams of people were inside the ice wall at this time. For Shoto Todoroki, he does not go to grab Chi Feng's score himself, but as long as he can help others to grab Chi Feng's score, this is enough. Then he took advantage of the fisherman's profit. Compared to dealing with Chi Feng, Shoto Todoroki prefers to snatch Chi Feng's score from others. After all, this game is not entirely dependent on quirk, and teamwork is also very important. At the moment when Shoto Todoroki formed an ice wall around Chi Feng, Bone Tender created the quirk. His quirk stretched out like a quagmire, bringing all the students in his area into the quagmire. Chi Feng's feet began to sink downwards, and he couldn't help it at the moment without focusing. Damn it, it's a big game. Chi Feng's expression changed. If trapped in the mud, everyone in this ice wall would be Tetsu's prey. This bone-soft creation is indeed a good group of horses. Yaoyorozu sauce, can you create a propeller? Chi Feng knows that at this time, he can only rely on Yaoyorozu Momo. He does not use air control and requires team cooperation. Everyone has shortcomings and is not the strongest. The person must be invincible. You hold on again. Yaoyorozu Momo began to think and create hard. In this case, she also knew that Chi Feng's quirk was useless and could only rely on her. Finally, she hugged Chi Feng's thigh. She didn't want to come down so quickly. The most important thing is that she can only rely on Chi Feng now. If Chi Feng fails, she will also fail, so there is no chance to enter the next one. Round up. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi.
As an escort student, she certainly knows the importance of entering the final level, not to mention what the final game is, but as long as she can enter as the best stage to show, her strength and quirk can be known to everyone. All except your 10 million. Tetsu didn't expect it to be that simple. Shoto Todoroki of Class A helped him a lot, but the most important thing is the quirk made by Gugenruo. This kind of quirk, it is really strong in a closed environment. Chi Feng snorted coldly, and said to Yaoyorozu Momo, you can create with peace of mind, and leave the rest to me. Yaoyorozu Momo, who was originally distracted, had no worries after hearing Chi Feng's words, and began to create with all his strength. Chi Feng stretched his hands forward, and two powerful lightning arcs shot towards Tetsu, hitting his steel quirk, crackling. Suddenly, Chi Feng remembered what Midnight had said, one cannot deliberately defeat the camp, otherwise he would be eliminated directly. He didn't know if this was deliberate. It's useless. Tetsu rushed towards Chi Feng grinning, and the steely skin grabbed the turban on Chi Feng's head. At this moment, Yaoyorozu Momo had created the thruster, and it was launched immediately. Chi Feng, who was about to fall into the mud for more than half of his time, flew up into the sky like a carp leaping over a dragon gate. It's me. Chi Feng kicked suddenly, stepping on the ice wall and rushing towards the same trapped team. After taking away two headscarves, he broke the ice wall and rushed out. Shoto Todoroki noticed here for the first time. He thought that the other players inside had already succeeded, so he broke his ice wall and came out, but the next moment he saw Chi Feng and Yaoyorozu Momo rush out. Failed to succeed. Shoto Todoroki felt that things were a little troublesome. Not only that, Chi Feng seemed to snatch the headscarves of the two teams, and the score became higher. Chi Feng smiled at Shoto Todoroki. Thank you, Mr. Boom. Shoto Todoroki snorted, waved and said, attack Chi Feng. Ida Tenya immediately said, Boom, do you really think about it? If you don't act now, the game will be over. There is not much time to think about it. Shoto Todoroki said with a serious expression. As long as they win Chi Feng's score, their team can directly become the first, so that his bastard dad will not talk nonsense. 1A Chi Feng and Yaoyorozu Momo succeeded in getting out of trouble, and they also grabbed two headscarves. Present Mike exclaimed in amazement, thinking that it would cause great pressure on Chi Feng, but instead helped Chi Feng. What kind of students did you teach? Two people can cooperate so well. Present Mike turned his head and asked Aizawa Shota. I didn't teach them anything, especially Chi Feng. His strength has exceeded my expectations. Have you forgotten? If the USJ incident did not have Chi Feng's help, maybe I am a useless person now. Aizawa Shota's tone is flat, but there are still waves in his heart. Who doesn't want his students to become very strong? I really can't do anything with you. Present Mike said, your luck is always so good. So. Aizawa Shota said casually, and his eyes continued to watch the game. Chi Feng. At this time, Chi Feng heard someone calling him, turned his head and looked at Mezzo Shoji rushing towards him. Under the protection of his copy wrist, Mineta Minoru showed a negative face, dare to take my Yaoyorozu Momo. Mineta Minoru hadn't finished saying a word, Suyu Sauce, who was also copying her wrist, stretched her tongue out and hit Mineta Minoru in the face. Ah. At Chi Feng's speed, Mineta Minoru wanted to hit him as a delusion. In addition to avoiding the super stickiness of the purple grapes, Suyu Sauce's tongue rolled over his head, but it was just like nothing. Chapter 104. First in 2 rounds. Piston engine burst sprint. This speed. Chi Feng's eyelids twitched, and he saw a shadow rushing towards him. Yes, it belongs to Ida Tenya's Nirvana, bursting and sprinting. After using this trick, Ida Tenya's legs will turn off, which is equivalent to unable to move. But, Ida Tenya was wrong. He is not Midoriya Izuku. If this trick is okay against Midoriya Izuku, but Chi Feng is still a bit worse against him. Sure enough, Ida Tenya rushed towards Chi Feng with great confidence. He knew that it was impossible for Chi Feng to escape at this speed. However, the next moment he was dumbfounded. Chi Feng's speed suddenly increased and turned into a blue. The dark shadow disappeared before his eyes. How is this possible? Ida Tenya said in shock. As for Shoto Todoroki and others, they didn't even see Chi Feng, they could only see a blue light flashing, and then Chi Feng disappeared. Although All Might watched in the audience, he, as the strongest heroes, naturally saw Chi Feng's speed, which no one can catch up in the next year, because this speed has exceeded the level of professional heroes. Some professional heroes that are known for their speed may have this kind of speed, but that kind of professional heroes basically work in top firms, and Chi Feng is only a student. He hides his strength. The sharpshooter's gaze can even see Chi Feng's trajectory. Although he is fast, he can't escape his eyes. This student is a bit interesting. I think he is not just a dark horse. How much do you know about him? The ethereal ghost suddenly asked everyone present. Apart from All Might, no one knows Chi Feng better than him, but even so, All Might still doesn't know Chi Feng very well, only on the surface. As for Chi Feng's true strength, All Might has not asked, nor does he know what Chi Feng's life is like when he leaves school. But according to the current strength shown by Chi Feng, it has far surpassed the Class A of heroes, and it seems that it is no longer on the same level. After All Might decided to ask Chi Feng carefully about the Quirk's strength. What happened? I don't even see Chi Feng's speed. Ida's speed is fast enough, but Chi Feng's speed seems to be better. Present Mike screamed again, and Chi Feng shocked him. Too much. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Some of the professional heroes in the audience, and some of the strong ones, also saw Chi Feng's extraordinary. They were secretly surprised. Is this still a student? Somewhere in the auditorium, a disfigured man stared at Chi Feng for a while, and then said to the man next to him, "After the sports festival is over, check the history of this kid." Understood. The man replied very simply. Sitting next to him was the third emperor of the underground heroes in Kyoto. His strength was terrifying. It is really rare that such a character would be interested in a student. The rest of the underground heroes hidden in the audience also began to want to investigate Chi Feng's origins and past. Such people are not only the objects that professional heroes want to snatch, but underground heroes are the same. Chi Feng knows that he will expose his strength, but there is nothing he can do. He said that he will get the first place, and also take care of Yaoyorozu's sister, so it won't work if he doesn't expose his strength. His previous strength is probably 80%. The speed already has the strength of the Seven Saints. Ida Tenya didn't expect him to fail, and it was so thorough that he didn't even touch a single hair of Chi Feng. This shouldn't be the case. His nirvana was concealed from everyone in the class, just to be useful at critical moments, but the result was so unsatisfactory. Time up. Present Mike terminated the game, the time is up, and the second round is over. Then let's take a look at the top 4 teams right away. Present Mike made a pistol gesture. First place, Chi Feng team. Second place, Boom team. Third place, Bakugo team. Fourth, the famous team. The top 4 results have been announced, and Midoriya Izuku's team is clearly behind, but it is not the last. Next we will enter the lunch break, and then we will have the afternoon game. I will see you later. Present Mike turned off the microphone. Although he could speak very well, his mouth was a little dry. As soon as Chi Feng walked out of the venue, she saw Yaoyorozu Momo leaning on the fence. Seeing Chi Feng came out, she walked over happily. Student Chi Feng, to thank you, let me invite you to lunch. Chi Feng's face blushed slightly. He still has Yaoyorozu Momo's warmth on his neck, which is so shy. Seeing Chi Feng's face reddening, Yaoyorozu Momo couldn't help thinking of the previous things, and his face instantly turned red. Looking back on it now, she was really shy. She remembered that she was agitated at the time, her legs were tightly clamped, and she didn't know it was. Did not hurt Chi Feng. Don't Chi Feng plan to give me this face? Yaoyorozu Momo saw that Chi Feng hadn't spoken all the time, and the atmosphere became a little embarrassing and simply said again. Of course I'm going, why wouldn't I be invited by Yaoyorozu Momo sauce? Chi Feng laughed and followed Yaoyorozu Momo to find a place to eat nearby. Speaking of which, there is no restaurant here, but there is a school cafeteria. In the end, the two of them had no choice but to eat in the same place as everyone else. Isn't this Yaoyorozu Momo? Why are you walking so close to Chi Feng classmates now? You were in the same group during the previous game, and you still have to eat now. Hagakure Toru was interrupted before he finished speaking. Could it be, you two are dating? Ashido Mina chuckled. How is it possible? Yaoyorozu Momo blushed and defended. I want to thank classmate Chi Feng for eating together. As that's so, Ashido Mina said in disbelief, but Chi Feng and Yaoyorozu Momo won the first place in the second game. I really should be grateful. Of course, what do you think? Yaoyorozu Momo hurried to order after finishing talking, she didn't want to talk more about this issue. Hee, see you later. Chi Feng greeted the two and followed Yaoyorozu Momo away. How do these two people think about the relationship? Hagakure Toru said with a curled mouth, although no one could see her curled up. I think so. Ashido Mina smiled and said, let's go eat too. Okay. Chi Feng and Yaoyorozu Momo ordered a few dishes and went to a student box. Originally, there was a charge, but the boss directly waived it when he saw Chi Feng. It was because he saw Chi Feng's game before. Heroes of the country, he can't neglect. In this way, inexplicably, Chi Feng entered the box without spending a penny. This box is about 10 square meters, which is exactly 2 people. Chapter 105. After the two sat down, Chi Feng did not move the chopsticks first, but said, Yaoyorozu sauce, I have something for you. There is also a black dress in Chi Feng's system warehouse. He did not intend to give it to Sister Ying. After all, this kind of sexy thing is not suitable for Sister Ying, and the identity is also inappropriate. How can a younger brother give her sister a black dress? So, Chi Feng, who is interested in Yaoyorozu Momo, simply sent her in this environment. When Yaoyorozu Momo heard that Chi Feng wanted to give her something, his heart suddenly became tight. Is it really the same as Ashido Mina Hagakure Toru said? Chi Feng is really interesting to her. But she is only a freshman now. She has never thought about this aspect of things. Although her physical development is much more mature than her peers, she knows that she is still a naive girl and has not reached the stage of falling in love. Give me something. Yaoyorozu Momo asked tentatively, what is it? Come on, here you are. Chi Feng took out the black dress from under the table and placed it on the table. Yaoyorozu Momo took it over and took a look. He blushed like a monkey butt. Did classmate Chi Feng give him a black underwear? And still so sexy. There is no need to explain or say more about this. It seems that classmate Chi Feng really likes her. How can this be done? Although classmate Chi Feng is excellent and strong, he is indeed the best candidate. However, she can't fall in love yet, at least she has to become a professional hero. Let's talk about it. It is too early for her to fall in love, and she is a little overwhelmed. Student Chi Feng, I don't think we are suitable for dating. Yaoyorozu Momo's voice is as small as a mosquito, but Chi Feng still heard it. I don't mean anything else. I passed by a shopping mall once, and the boss there asked me to be an image endorsement, and then gave me this dress. Chi Feng waved his hand and said, in fact, he doesn't want to fall in love now, after all, too much happened to him. There is the hostility of the Villain Alliance and the threat of Oni Okayama, the leader behind the Underground Heroes Casino, and after the sports festival, he and Kurosawa will participate in the Imperial League's qualifying contest, so there is no time to distract and fall in love. But Chi Feng is still very eager. Since he kissed Himiko Toga, his yearning for love has become stronger and stronger, but if you want to be a strong man, you must abandon something, so Chi Feng decisively abandoned love now. Maybe when he is really strong and not afraid of everything, love will become extremely important. Yaoyorozu Momo was relieved when he heard Chi Feng say this, but a sense of loss arose in her heart. This feeling was weird and she couldn't control it. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Fortunately, she didn't hear. Yaoyorozu Momo thought Chi Feng didn't hear what she said, otherwise he would be embarrassed. Accept it. I think you have the most perfect figure among your classmates except Hagakure Toru. You should look good when you wear it. Chi Feng smiled and said, although he doesn't know what Hagakure Toru looks like, but it can be seen that Hagakure Toru has a very hot body and is definitely not worse than Yaoyorozu Momo. Chi Feng knows that there is a way to see Hagakure Toru's appearance clearly, as long as she splashes yellow paint or paint on her body, but there is a bit more troublesome, that is, the hair and eyes. In short, if you want to know the appearance of Hagakure Toru, you can't do it with Chi Feng's spiritual knowledge. Only the outline can be seen clearly in the spiritual knowledge. Chi Feng has also observed that Hagakure Toru is definitely a good girl, but Quirk is more F-king. Okay, I accept it. I didn't care about Chi Feng comparing her with Hagakure Toru, and happily accepted the black dress from Chi Feng. It's just that Yaoyorozu Momo was a little confused. He watched Chi Feng come out empty-handed. Why did he suddenly add a piece of clothing in the box? This question has always become her doubt and cannot be solved. The meal was a pleasant one, but the atmosphere was a little bit awkward, but it was an honor to be able to sit and eat with a beautiful woman. Just when Chi Feng was about to leave after eating, he saw Mineta Minoru staring at him with big bloody eyes on the window above the box. Chi Feng was taken aback. When did this guy come? But what is certain is that Mineta Minoru was not there when he gave Yaoyorozu Momo the black dress. Chi Feng, you despicable villain, perverted shameless person. Mineta Minoru was in tears. When will he be as good as Chi Feng? It is so happy to be able to sit and eat with a big girl like Yaoyorozu Momo. Chi Feng ignored Mineta Minoru and left with Yaoyorozu Momo. The afternoon game was about to begin. This was the highlight. Okay, the lunch break is over, and the last project is finally announced. Present Mike still said passionately. Before this, I have good news to tell the students who were eliminated in the qualifiers. This is after all it was a sports festival, so the school had already prepared an entertainment project that everyone could participate in, and also invited a professional female cheerleader from the United States to stir up the atmosphere. After walking into the sports festival venue, Chi Feng looked at these American cheerleaders dancing, and the corners of his mouth twitched. How could this be an American? It doesn't look like it at all. It may be that there is a problem with this setting. But there is no welfare picture of Class A changing into a cheerleading team. After all, Chi Feng and Yaoyorozu Momo ate alone, which aroused Mineta Minoru's jealousy and caused no heart to think about these messy things. After the entertainment project is over, the 5 teams that have advanced to the final project, with a total of 18 players, will play a one-on-one elimination match. Chi Feng didn't care about other people's battles. After all, these battle scenes had already been imprinted in his heart. What he cared about was his opponent. However, Chi Feng didn't have any pressure. Whether it was a classmate in his class or another class, it was impossible for anyone to be his opponent. Chi Feng glanced at the first person he was going to fight, Shinso Hitoshi. Isn't it the man Midoriya brother wants to deal with? Why is it his turn? But it's okay. Worrying about him can solve the battle in a few seconds. After everyone has assigned candidates to compete, the game begins. Chi Feng took a break in the rest area and then came to the stage. Shinso Hitoshi stood on the ring and waited for Chi Feng. To be honest, he hates Chi Feng very much. It happens that this game can make Chi Feng embarrassed. The game started after Chi Feng took the stage, and the audience all around wanted to see how wonderful Chi Feng this dark horse would be when fighting. The dark horse of Class A, we finally met. Shinso Hitoshi said blankly. In his thoughts, he had met Chi Feng several times, so Chi Feng would say next, I've seen it before. Such words. But Chi Feng didn't say a word, it seemed that he couldn't hear him at all. Shinso Hatoshi pretends to be calm. He doesn't think Chi Feng is a calm person, nor can he be a person who doesn't like to talk. Chapter 106 Shinso Hatoshi's Unwillingness. Don't hurry, I actually want to know why your quirk is so powerful. Shinso Hatoshi pretended to be calm and said. But Chi Feng still didn't speak, and walked towards Shinso Hatoshi with small steps. What's the matter? Shinso Hatoshi's face changed slightly. Did Chi Feng from Class A already know what his quirk is? Or did the guy named Ojiro Mashirao revealed it to him when he was teaming up? But this is unlikely. Even if it is revealed, it is impossible to know all of his quirk. It is only a rough idea. In this case, as long as you talk to him, you will be directly controlled. But the other party didn't seem to want to talk at all. Shinso Hatoshi suddenly smiled. Chi Feng from Heroes Division A turned out to be a dumb. Chi Feng suddenly stopped leaving when he was still more than 20 meters away from Shinso Hatoshi, but sat down cross-legged. What's the matter? Not only Shinso Hatoshi was puzzled, but even the audience was puzzled. Why did this originally passionate game suddenly sit down? What's the situation? 1A Chi Feng actually sat down during the match. Does it mean you want to take a break, but shouldn't you take a break during the lunch break? Present Mike said puzzled. Chi Feng boy. All Might didn't know what Chi Feng was thinking about, but he knew that this must have Chi Feng's own thoughts. In fact, Chi Feng didn't have any ideas, and it didn't take much effort to deal with Shinso Hatoshi. To put it bluntly, he could beat him out of the boundary with his four-layered fist. Chi Feng has a pain in his stomach now. It may be that his stomach was bad after eating at noon. Although it is said that eating ordinary food at the 4th level of Chi training is fine, but Chi Feng did not deal with it when he ate. So the stomach hurts. But there was no expression on his face. In fact, the stomach pain had nothing to do with Shinso Hatoshi fighting, but Chi Feng wanted to take a break and tease this guy. What are you doing? Shinso Hatoshi frowned, wondering what Chi Feng did. It's impossible to let him go up to play Chi Feng, because he knows how terrifying this guy's quirk is. He didn't think the Heroes A-class people were so good, but after the first 2 rounds of competition, Chi Feng's strength has been fully demonstrated before everyone's eyes. To be honest, if it wasn't for some aspects of his quirk brainwashing that was abnormal, he would never face Chi Feng, which would be very helpless. But this guy hasn't said a word to him from the beginning of the game until now. This is definitely a problem. Don't you want to say something? Shinso Hatoshi was a little grumpy. Could it be that you are really dumb? Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Ida Tenya in the audience touched his chin and said, Mr. Chi Feng is uncharacteristically. He doesn't even bother to talk to villain. I think the guy named Shinso Hatoshi is very strange. Midoriya Izuku said. Uraraka Ochako turned his head and asked, Izuku-kun, do you see anything? No, but classmate Ojiro Mashirao told me about this person's quirk before, so I found it strange. Midoriya Izuku obviously doesn't know the specific quirk of Shinso Hatoshi, so I can't talk nonsense. With a slightly better stomach, Chi Feng suddenly stood up. He had to end the game and go to the bathroom. The reason for the delay just now was to not let the game end too soon, at least to save some face for the opponent. Shinso Hatoshi's quirk is very powerful. Chi Feng doesn't want to hit the other party's self-confidence, so as not to betray the Heroes Academy afterwards. At that time, on the villain side, if this kind of quirk is cultivated very strong, it would be really terrifying. Chi Feng almost wanted to talk, but still held back. With a right hand, a thunderbolt struck Shinso Hatoshi and instantly hit him. Ah! Shinso Hatoshi was yelled by electricity, his eyes turned white, and the erected hair became even more erect at this time, just like an explosive head. Seeing that it was about to be charged, Chi Feng walked over and picked up Shinso Hatoshi, and then threw it out of the field with ease. This. Present Mike paused, and then yelled, the winner is Chi Feng. I didn't expect to win the game so easily. It's really disappointing. The audience felt that Shinso Hatoshi was here to be funny and did nothing. He was talking all the time, and the other party ignored him. He kept saying this, and he was eliminated in the end. It's rubbish, someone scolded. That person is not a quirk, right? I don't know, he lost without even having a chance to shoot anyway. Most of the people in the audience were complaining about Shinso Hatoshi. At this moment, Shinso Hatoshi fell down. Although he was unable to move by electricity, his brain was still awake. Everyone's laughter, Chi Feng's arrogance and disdain, he watched. In my eyes. Why is this? Shinso Hatoshi was very unwilling. According to his quirk, as long as someone talks to him, he will be brainwashed, but Chi Feng didn't say a word to him, why on earth? Chi Feng immediately ran to the corridor to go to the toilet. He doesn't pay attention to other people's matches now, and the process is not so fast. He just wants to end the match early. After all, the battle here is no longer suitable for him. When Chi Feng finished using the toilet, the first round had been decided. Chi Feng looked at the display screen, and his name was written on it, and his opponent was Shoto Todoroki. Midoriya Izuku won the game, Tokiyami Fumikage lost, and the rest of the team followed suit. The one who wins and the one who loses is ultimately a battle between the 4. Midoriya Izuku played against Bakugo Katsuki and Chi Feng played against Shoto Todoroki. This game happened to be Chi Feng versus Shoto Todoroki, and the two had already followed everyone's gaze to the field. Chi Feng, I hope you can show your real strength this time. Shoto Todoroki paused after speaking, and said again, although you were number one in the first two games, it is not so easy for me to win. I'm not so easy to deal with Shinso Hitoshi. Chi Feng chuckled, Mr. Boom, I will use all my strength, what about you? Me, Shoto Todoroki said after being silent for a while, of course I am the same. This game is very important to me, and I will not lose. Chi Feng just smiled and did not speak. Shoto Todoroki would not win, but Chi Feng also knew that it was impossible to easily beat Shoto Todoroki. After all, Shoto Todoroki's current strength can be compared with the Five Kings. It may only be the last few of the Five Kings, but this does not hinder Shoto Todoroki's strength. Then, the game begins. Seeing that both players were ready, President Mike gave an order and the duel between Shoto Todoroki and Chi Feng began. Chapter 107 Great Yan Jia, Emperor Yan. Take out your strength. Shoto Todoroki's gaze changed, his momentum rose in vain, and an ice stream hit Chi Feng with his right hand waving. This game is very exciting for the spectators in the audience. One is the strong ability to send students, and the other is the dark horse of this year. The game between these two people can be said to be very powerful. The students also watched Chi Feng and Shoto Todoroki in the rest area. A lot of time has passed since they just enrolled in school. I don't know how strong the students Hong and Chi Feng really are. Bring out the strength. Chi Feng chuckled lightly. The current Shoto Todoroki couldn't get him to use his strength. With a wave of his hand, Chi Feng took out the thunder and lightning that he used to fight Shoto Todoroki. The hit on the ice stream only caused it some white marks. It seems that it has really become stronger. When Chi Feng and Shoto Todoroki fought for the first time, this thunder and lightning could wave the opponent's ice current, but it doesn't work anymore. It seems that the opponent's ice current has become even stronger. Condensed. Shoto Todoroki said with a serious expression, do you think it was before? I have improved. I can see it, Chi Feng said. Mr. Boom, then I have to get some strength. After saying this sentence, Chi Feng thickened the lightning, and also hit the ice stream. This time the ice stream was crushed without accident. This seems to be within Shoto Todoroki's expected range. He did not change his expression. He stamped his right foot to the ground, and a larger ice current rushed towards Chi Feng again. Chi Feng leapt in place and landed on a 4 to 5 meter high ice stream. Before he could stand still, a fiery flame appeared and swept over Chi Feng's body. Actually use flames. Shouldn't the story of using the flames be used to force the brother Midoriya to persuade him all the time? The result is only after he has been encouraging. How can he use flames when fighting against him? Just after thinking about Chi Feng, I realized that Shoto Todoroki wants to get the first place. Midoriya Izuku's strength is not enough for him to use the flames, but facing him Chi Feng, he must use all his strength, otherwise he may win. Chi Feng backed up a few steps. If he could manipulate the flame with air, it wouldn't be a big deal, but it didn't work. Lightning and flame are two different forms, one is wrapping and covering, the other is breakdown and fast. When the lightning hits the flame and cannot be extinguished, it can penetrate the flame and hit Shoto Todoroki, but then he will be burned by the flame. However, if it is Kaminari Denki, there may be no way, but it is a pity that he is Chi Feng. The speed of thunder and lightning is not beyond the reach of human beings. Under the speed, everything will be destroyed. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chi Feng's body began to rotate, and thunder light bloomed around his body, like the most dazzling spark, shattering all the flames that had swept Shoto Todoroki. Chi Feng raised his hand and struck out a lightning arc. Shoto Todoroki was a little surprised, and waved his left hand forward. The ice wall blocked Chi Feng's lightning arc attack. Chi Feng looked up, and a huge fireball appeared on Shoto Todoroki's right hand. He dragged the fireball with his right hand, at least half the size of a basketball court. Unexpectedly condensed a trick similar to Lei Ying. Chi Feng's face changed slightly. Shoto Todoroki has indeed grown up. Even this trick can be used. It can be seen that he has not exercised much these days, even in order to defeat Chi Feng. The flames that are unwilling to use are practiced diligently. I said, let you use your strongest strength. A sweat leaked from Shoto Todoroki's forehead. Obviously, this trick would be very difficult. Chi Feng watched the ball of fire growing in the sky, and suddenly thought of Fire Fist Ace. How could this trick be so similar to the great Yan Jia Yan Di? Perhaps Shoto Todoroki was modeled after his Lei Ying's power. After all, he had used this tactic at the USJ facility before, so he would have thought of it. A huge fireball was thrown at Chi Feng and hit quickly. Chi Feng wanted to see how strong Shoto Todoroki's trick was. At this moment, he also gathered a small thunder. Because of the faster condensing speed, it may be more powerful. It was weak, but he couldn't manage that much anymore, so he pitched towards Great Fireball. When the two collided, Great Fireball swallowed Chi Feng's Xiao Leiying, and then landed on Chi Feng's body. Chi Feng immediately felt the temperature inside the fireball. It was extremely hot, and it was too late to think about it. A thunder net appeared around his body, which barely blocked the hot temperature of the great fireball by more than half, but Chi Feng's upper body was still in this situation. Burned clean by the flames. If it weren't for good protection, maybe Chi Feng's hair was burned out, and he didn't want to be bald. Before the flame dissipated, the cold came. Chi Feng had no time to react, or he wanted to try Shoto Todoroki's current specific strength, so he did not rush to respond. The huge ice burst directly froze Chi Feng inside, and even his head was submerged. Suddenly, an extremely large iceberg appeared in the middle of the field. This, Shoto Todoroki is going to kill Chi Feng. Present Mike exclaimed, this kind of big trick ice freezes people, and there is no oxygen. Can Chi Feng hold on? It really brings rhythm. Shoto Todoroki knew that it was impossible to kill Chi Feng with this big ice explosion, and he would not kill Chi Feng. If Chi Feng did not come out within the time he expected, he would think way to rescue. However, if it is what he thinks, then Chi Feng's strength is nothing more than that. Perhaps Chi Feng has rarely exercised his quirk these days under that kind of strong aura, and this will lead to such an end. Pride makes people regress, and humility makes people progress. Even elementary school students understand this truth. Shoto Todoroki doesn't think Chi Feng can't understand it. Among the audience, some more powerful firms have already taken a fancy to Shoto Todoroki. This kind of quirk of ice and fire will definitely be a powerful person if it is cultivated. After all, he is the son of Endeavor, which is recognized as the second-ranked island nation. The strong. Although some underground heroes were thinking of soliciting Shoto Todoroki, they suppressed this idea one after another because of Endeavor and professional heroes. Professional heroes and underground heroes have always been incompatible with each other. Shoto Todoroki's quirk is very powerful. There is nothing wrong with him, but after all, he is a UA high school person, which is the future professional heroes. How could he join the underground heroes? However, there are still some underground heroes who don't have this consciousness. For them, they can seize this opportunity. As for the future, they don't think about it now. Chi Feng will be fine, right? Ida Tenya saw some of his scalp numb, but Shoto Todoroki's strength was beyond his expectation. Under the great fireball, then there was a big ice burst and a double sky of ice and fire. If the power is placed on him, it might all die, right? Midoriya Izuku looked at the iceberg worriedly. At a distance of more than 20 meters, the sight was terrifying. Everyone is waiting for the result, and the referee has not announced the end of the game. Considering Chi Feng's strength, he may be able to hold it for a while. Chapter 108. At this moment, Chi Feng's face in the big ice burst is a bit unsightly. Shoto Todoroki's big ice burst almost killed him. There is no air in this degree of ice burst, so Chi Feng can't breathe. But no one could observe him in the ice burst, so Chi Feng used air to manipulate the oxygen in the ice burst for him to absorb. However, even without oxygen, Chi Feng could not die so fast. After all, he was practicing chi in the fourth layer. But Shoto Todoroki didn't mean to stop seeing this. So Chi Feng was a little angry. He was right, but if he only had Thor's second quirk, he might have been fainted by Shoto Todoroki's ice burst by now. Shoto Todoroki glanced at the reactions of the audience around him, and seemed to have recognized his strength very much. Finally, he glanced at his bastard dad. Although he was far away, Shoto Todoroki could also see his surprise. Almost. Shoto Todoroki just wanted to say that Chi Feng could almost come out, because at this time he felt that it was almost time, otherwise Chi Feng would be dangerous if it continued like this. But before he could say a word, he saw that his big ice burst was suddenly covered with cracks, and the next moment it exploded directly. The icy scum in the sky fell, and the thunder light shining in the audience at this moment. Shoto Todoroki was covering his eyes with his hands. He was inexplicably shocked. Chi Feng was actually out of trouble. His freezing is without dead ends. According to his estimation, Chi Feng's strength can last for about half a minute, so he didn't rush to thaw the ice. It didn't even last for half a minute. Not only did Chi Feng not lose his fighting ability, he became stronger, breaking his ice burst directly, and the flame ball he used just now did not cause any loss of combat damage to Chi Feng. The people in the first few rows of the audience were the first to be able to open their eyes. Even those far away from Chi Feng felt very dazzling. What happened? There was only a blue light in front of present Mike's eyes. He thought that Chi Feng should not be able to hold on, and was about to announce the result. Although Chi Feng is a strong dark horse, it does not mean that his strength is invincible in his grade. So it's normal to lose. But now it seems that Chi Feng is still very healthy. Present Mike turned his head to look at Aizawa Shota. If it is you, can you break free from being frozen like this? Aizawa Shota said silently. If you try, you will know. Ask me this kind of ignorant question. Unless you release the quirk yourself, otherwise you will be blocked by the ice cube. How can you break free? Yes, I know too. Present Mike said. But Chi Feng's quirk can now release himself, so what kind of strength is he? Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Even he has to open his mouth to release the quirk. If he is frozen, he can only use nirvana when it is not a last resort, but people at their level will generally avoid this kind of blockade action. I don't know. Chi Feng must have his own secret. According to my observation, his strength has been rising since the USJ incident. I don't know how to train it. After all, I am a teacher, not a guardian. Aizawa Shota's tone was calm, but there was a little turbulence in her heart. To be honest, he has been a teacher for so long, Chi Feng gave him the same feeling as All Might. Although Chi Feng wants to grow to the level of All Might, there is still a long way to go, but Aizawa Shota believes that maybe it won't be long before Chi Feng will be on his own. Is it really that strong? After the thunder light gradually dissipated, Shoto Todoroki took off the hand that was blocking his eyes. At this moment, the ground within 20 meters of Chi Feng was scorched, which was obviously caused by the thunder light just now. I still underestimate you, I won't keep my hands next. Shoto Todoroki tried to control his quirk, otherwise it may cause serious damage to Chi Feng, but now it seems that Chi Feng's strength surpasses him. Expected, so there is no need to keep it. Chi Feng didn't even talk nonsense this time, since Shoto Todoroki wants him to show his strength, so yes, he can show his strength. But this strength is only 70%, and Chi Feng is afraid of causing trouble. The whole person flashed like a thunder, and quickly came to Shoto Todoroki's body. Chi Feng was already punching out. Shoto Todoroki had been guarding Chi Feng's speed for a long time, but he still didn't expect it to be so fast. At this moment, it was too late to think about it. One hand was blocking him, and the other hand waved a flame. Chi Feng had no intention of retreating at all. He directly tore a hole in the flame with his right hand with lightning, and then punched Shoto Todoroki's chest. The lightning burst instantly, knocking Shoto Todoroki away more than 10 meters away. Shoto Todoroki fell to the ground in a bit of pain. Although Chi Feng's punch did not cause him any serious injury, his whole body was paralyzed by thunder and lightning at the moment. If you want to move, you have to rest for at least a few minutes, but Chi Feng will not give him a chance. Winning with speed, he worked hard for so long, and Chi Feng unexpectedly beat him so easily, Shoto Todoroki was very unwilling. Seeing his proud shot Shoto Todoroki was knocked into the air, his father, Endeavor, was also very disappointed. Although Shoto Todoroki demonstrated his strength before, he was still a bit worse. Even this kind of people who are not special enrolled students will be surprised. Can't beat. Disappointed. The situation has reversed. Shoto Todoroki fell to the ground. Present Mike yelled, and the audience started to roar with the yelling. Chi Feng came to Shoto Todoroki and looked at him. Surrender, boss, I don't want to throw you out of bounds. Surrender. Shoto Todoroki suddenly laughed, his tone somewhat beyond doubt, there is no word for surrender in my dictionary. Chi Feng looked at Shoto Todoroki appreciatively and said, he has the backbone, but sometimes it is like this. When his strength is very different from that of villain, there is no other way. Villain will kill you directly instead of giving you a chance to prepare. Shoto Todoroki didn't speak, he lay on the ground and looked at Chi Feng quietly. Chi Feng continued. I can see that you have been working hard recently to exercise your quirk, and even use the flames that you have been reluctant to use. I can be sure that your great Yanjia Yandi, oh no, you can't call your skills like that, just call it fireball. It must have been trained and not played at 0 hour on stage. Shoto Todoroki noticed Chi Feng's Da Yanjia Yandi after listening to it. The word seemed very cool, but his own trick was to name it Blaze Ball, which was much worse than Chi Feng's name when he opened his mouth. How did you train? Shoto Todoroki said suddenly, who had not spoken. Chi Feng smiled, walked a few steps forward, approached Shoto Todoroki and asked, want to know? Chapter 109 What is the situation? Shoto Todoroki stared at Chi Feng for a few seconds, then turned his head awkwardly. Chi Feng squatted down, not afraid of Shoto Todoroki's sneak attack on him, and said in a voice that only 2 people could hear, are you interested in joining the office? Shoto Todoroki's strength Chi Feng can see that it is much stronger than in the original book. Maybe he put pressure on Shoto Todoroki, so his strength has improved very quickly. What are those 2 guys doing? Bakugo Katsuki in the preparatory zone watched Chi Feng talking with Shoto Todoroki so close, obviously there was a problem. No one does this kind of thing during the fight, maybe only Chi Feng did it. Midoriya Izuku didn't know what Chi Feng was talking to Shoto Todoroki there, but he was nervous at the moment, because the next game was a match between him and Xiaosheng. Bakugo Katsuki suddenly said to Midoriya Izuku, hey, it's stinking for a long time, don't lose too fast, I want to punch you more. I won't lose. The tension in Midoriya Izuku's heart suddenly disappeared. When Xiaosheng said this, he was relieved and must go all out. Bakugo Katsuki stared into Midoriya Izuku's eyes, rarely getting angry. He saw a belief in Midoriya Izuku's eyes, and this belief was like an infinite charge. He doesn't know when Choju started to have this kind of courage, but as a person who has been bullied since childhood, Bakugo Katsuki has only one feeling in his heart, that is, other than himself, no one is qualified to bully Choju. Perhaps this is an alternative way of expression, interpreting the insignificant bond between the two, or a bad friend. Midoriya Izuku saw that Xiaosheng didn't get angry at her, but turned his head to continue watching Chi Feng's game. He felt an inexplicable feeling in his heart, which was very strange. Shoto Todoroki was still unable to act at this time. After Chi Feng asked about the firm, he asked, what firm? Bozu City, the firm of underworld legend, are you interested? Kai Feng laughed. The idea of recruiting Shoto Todoroki Kai Feng has long been there. His firm is an ordinary one-star firm. The firm has 8 stars, and 1 star is the lowest level firm. On the bright side, it was Muto Matsuzaki who registered. Although the two of them helped Takagi Dragon in the Underground Heroes Casino, Takagi Dragon's opponents were not too cumbersome. They helped Muto and Matsuzaki clean up their foundations, so the professional heroes would not look at them. Although it is only a 1-star office, it can also accept tasks. The tasks are issued by the police station and the government. Each office can receive tasks, but the content and level of the tasks are corresponding to the talents of the office. Receive. Otherwise, if you have a 1-star office to pick up tasks with a high risk factor, that would be death hunting. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. With Shoto Todoroki, the operation of the firm will be much better, which can be regarded as giving Shoto Todoroki more experience, and by the way, you can also get in touch with the underground heroes. Maybe Shoto Todoroki knows the underground heroes, after all, Endeavor is his father, these things should be told. Underworld's office. Shoto Todoroki knows who Underworld is. The Night Heroes in the People's Mouth specializes in acting at night to punish evil and promote good. It is just an unregistered person without a hero's license. And he also knows another identity of Underworld, the 7th Sage of Shibuya, which is the news he saw in the drawer of Father Endeavor's room. The strength distribution of the underground heroes Shoto Todoroki is very clear. He once thought about what number he could rank in the underground heroes. Yes, although it is currently a 1-star firm, I don't want it long before the star level of this firm will increase. Kai Feng explained. Shoto Todoroki seemed to have forgotten the general competition, and said, but I don't even have a hero's license. How do I enter the office? Kai Feng was taken aback. He actually forgot this. To enter the office, you need a hero's license, and at worst, you need a temporary license. Seeing that Kai Feng was stunned, Shoto Todoroki shook his head and said, I don't consider entering the office now, but if you can let the Legend of the Night take me through the experience, I would agree. There is no problem at all. Kai Feng said directly with a wave. Can you call the shots? Shoto Todoroki looked at Kai Feng suspiciously. The Legend of the Night is also a 7 sage, how could he listen to a student of Kai Feng? Kai Feng looked at Shoto Todoroki speechlessly. Lousy is the Legend of the Night. Can you say that you can call the shots? It's okay. Kai Feng stood up slowly. I am wronged you to leave the field now. It is not a good thing for us to delay the game. It is a trivial matter for him to lose. Anyway, there will be a UA sports festival every year. The most important thing is experience. Only by constant experience and fighting can he grow. You helped me up. My legs are still numb. Shoto Todoroki was a little reluctant. He underestimated Kai Feng's paralysis effect. He thought he would recover in a minute or two. Now at least 5 minutes have passed, and his legs are still paralyzed. Kai Feng snickered for a while, helped Shoto Todoroki up, and the two slowly walked towards the border. Audiences. What about this FCK? During the game, what is the situation of the good pictures of the two brothers? If you want to play, you can play well. They were still playing in full swing before, but now they are all hugging each other. Present Mike is no longer able to complain. He feels that Kai Feng is the biggest dark horse of the year and the most unpredictable person of the year. In these few minutes, the two of them talked a few words and hugged each other like this, and it seems Shoto Todoroki didn't resist at all, it was completely voluntary. What the hell is going on with classmate H and classmate Kai Feng? Uraraka Ochako opened his eyes wide, and watched in surprise as the backs of the two of them were gradually walking outside the bounds. Ida Tenya looked at Kai Feng and Shoto Todoroki with a serious expression. After a while, he said, do they have any bad habits? It's some kind of. Speaking of later, he couldn't go on anymore. Uraraka Ochako looked at Ida Tenya. Huh. Ida-san, why would you think of such things? Cough cough. Look, Ida Tenya's face flushed. He likes to think about comprehensive analysis when he speaks, so he only said this when he saw Kai Feng and Shoto Todoroki. At this time, he pointed to Kai Feng's back and said, before Kai Feng Jun and Jun Hong communicated for a few minutes, and Jun Hong seemed to have reached some kind of agreement with Jun Kai Feng, so they compromised. The students looked at Kai Feng and Shoto Todoroki one after another. After analyzing them, they felt that it made sense. It was much more reliable than Ida Tenya said at the beginning. Ida Tenya pushed his glasses frame, then the question is, what agreement did they reach? What agreement? The students asked. I do not know. The classmates fainted. Chapter 110 Izuku vs. Bakugo. Kai Feng hugged Shoto Todoroki and walked out of the world. Regardless of what the audience and classmates thought, Endeavor frowned. How did this guy named Kai Feng persuade his son? Obviously, Endeavor also saw that Shoto Todoroki is not Kai Feng's opponent. It seems to be a little worse, but it is basically impossible for Shoto Todoroki, who is so stubborn, to admit defeat by himself, unless some kind of agreement is reached. But Kai Feng, a student, can give Shoto Todoroki what benefits Endeavor can't understand. His firm is a well-known firm in the island. Doesn't this background give Shoto Todoroki what Shoto Todoroki wants? Even some people in the audience started to scold, but Chi Feng and Shoto Todoroki didn't seem to hear them. 1 meter in front was outside the boundary. Shoto Todoroki stepped out without hesitation. For him, the decision is up to if he does, he will not turn back. At the moment Shoto Todoroki crossed out of bounds, Endeavor turned and left, and at the same time Present Mic announced the result, Chi Feng won. For this game, the early stage was still very exciting. Since Chi Feng got out of the ice burst and directly reversed the game came to an end. In the next game, Midoriya Izuku will play Shoto Todoroki. Chi Feng is looking forward to it. It should have been Midoriya Izuku playing Shoto Todoroki, but because of his appearance, some factors changed, leading to Midoriya Izuku playing against Bakugo Katsuki. Even Tokiyami Fumikage lost to Midoriya. Although Chi Feng didn't watch that game, it should be very exciting. Come on, Izuku. Uraraka Ochako made a gesture to cheer Midoriya Izuku. Our game is over. It's up to you now. The final runoff is about to be held. I can't take it lightly, classmate Izuku. Ida Tenya said old-fashioned. Midoriya Izuku nodded and walked out. After all, he is going to face a small victory. The man who has strengthened him a lot since he was a child, now he can run on the same starting line as the opponent, thanks to All Might. Without the help of All Might, he is still in an ordinary high school for readers like Shanyu, and perhaps he would never have a chance with a high school in his life. With passion and anxiety, Midoriya Izuku stepped onto the venue. The speed is so slow, it smells so long, isn't it scary? Bakugo Katsuki was already standing in the playing field, and he said as soon as Midoriya Izuku came up. Midoriya Izuku was not frightened by Bakugo Katsuki, he must win. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Okay, then the game we'll wait and see begins. Present Mic announced the start of the game. Bakugo Katsuki didn't have any nonsense, his hands lit up, and he rushed towards Midoriya Izuku, get enlightened. Midoriya Izuku can't achieve the full coverage of One for All now, but his physical fitness is still good. Of course, he can't use 100% of his power against Xiaosheng, otherwise Xiaosheng will be killed. However, Xiaosheng's attack methods and tactics are different from Shoto Todoroki's. The explosion cannot be stopped, and his attack will directly hit Xiaosheng, so he must control his strength, otherwise it will be very dangerous. Bakugo Katsuki quickly came to Midoriya Izuku's face, one hand was shining with fire and pressed against Midoriya's chest. Midoriya Izuku reacted quite quickly, avoiding the first move, but Bakugo Katsuki's voice sounded. The reaction is not fast. Use. The next moment Bakugo Katsuki kicked Midoriya on Midoriya's waist. Midoriya was kicked to the ground. Bakugo Katsuki had no softness and wanted to eliminate Midoriya directly. A touch of determination suddenly appeared in Midoriya Izuku's eyes, and the palm of his hand lit up. There seemed to be lines of Madara in color, pressing towards Bakugo Katsuki's chest, and at the same time, Bakugo Katsuki's explosion hit. Boom. With an explosion, Midoriya Izuku and Bakugo Katsuki flew upside down at the same time. The clothes on Midoriya Izuku's chest were torn and he was hit by Bakugo and flew several meters away. Bakugo Katsuki is also not much better, even flying farther than Midoriya Izuku. He did not expect that the smelly attack would be so strong. It was like being hit by a stone in the chest, and the whole person flew 10 meters away. Distance. Smelly Jew. Bakugo Katsuki showed bloodshot eyes. He would not allow him to surpass him, nor could he surpass him. This person who used to look at his horse's head, but now has the strength to rival him, this kind of thing. How can he bear it? The next moment Bakugo Katsuki rushed towards Midoriya again. At this moment, Midoriya Izuku's palm was already purple. The blow did not make his hand useless, but the palm was almost useless, and the back of the hand can still be used. This way of pushing the power will still be reduced a lot. Originally, he would use his fingers to attack, but that was too powerful, and Midoriya was afraid of hurting Xiaosheng, so he replaced it with the back of his hand. After fighting with Tokiyami Fumikage, his hands are gone. If it weren't for Recovery Girl's help, he might not be able to get on stage now. But Recovery Girl said that after the sports festival, he won't help him frequently to recover from his injuries. Everything in the future will depend on him. Bakugo Katsuki is very fast, rushing towards him with anger. Midoriya Izuku can't control so much, he has to win. The back of his right hand is waved. No matter whether Bakugo's explosion will cause him harm, this game must be won. This time Bakugo Katsuki was smart. After knowing the attack method of Midoriya Izuku, he avoided this attack and sent Midoriya Izuku out again. Midoriya Izuku was lying on the ground in pain, his right hand was already abolished, and now he couldn't control his power. If he didn't hit the opponent behind the back of his hand, he would simply be scrapped. This is the consequence of inadequate power control. Smelly for a long time. I don't know why you can compete with me suddenly, but you want to be on an equal footing with me as a delusion. Now I give you a chance to admit defeat, otherwise I will blast you out. Bakugo Katsuki said viciously. All Might looked at Midoriya Izuku who fell on the ground, and he felt a sense of difficulty in his heart. He had this kind of helplessness when he was young. This is a desire for power and a helplessness in life. Until he met her, everything changed. He had the power, the capital that could contend with the evil forces in the world, and the punishment methods that could defeat the evil forces. This is all thanks to her to have today's all might. The same is true for Midoriya Izuku at this time. Without fully grasping One for All, he can only find out on his own, and outsiders cannot help. He is not a good teacher, and he cannot teach Midoriya Izuku how to use One for All. I can only tell him that the stronger the body is, like a container, only the container is big enough to hold more things and the power of One for All. All this depends on Midoriya Izuku's own experience and comprehension. Chapter 111. Who wins? I can't lose, I won't admit defeat. What? Bakugo Katsuki stopped and looked at Midoriya Izuku. The man who had been bullied by him and begged for mercy and surrendered would actually say this to him, and he was still being knocked down and injured. I heard it right, is it smelly for a long time? Bakugo Katsuki suddenly laughed. When did you have this courage? At this moment, Midoriya Izuku suddenly exerted force on his feet, and his two toes plunged into the ground, and then he slammed forward. The whole person rushed towards Bakugo Katsuki like a cannonball. With such a close reaction, Bakugo Katsuki was in a daze. There is no way to avoid this blow. A palm was slapped on Bakugo Katsuki's belly, and he flew out like a kite with a broken line, and fell towards the outside world. A trace of bloodline came out from the corner of his mouth, and a sharp glow appeared in Bakugo Katsuki's eyes. He couldn't lose. Enduring the pain, both hands exploded backward, dragging his body up and falling into the bounds. At this moment, Midoriya Izuku's other hand was scrapped due to excessive force, and his feet were also purple due to the release of power. He fell to the ground and couldn't move. After raising his head, he saw that Xiao Sheng hadn't fallen off the court, and a trace of unwillingness flashed in his eyes. Bakugo Katsuki was indeed amazed by Midoriya Izuku's play, and he couldn't react. If his consciousness was dissipated at this speed, he would definitely lose. Smelly long. No matter what you go through, but I have to win, no one can stop it. Enduring the pain from his stomach, Bakugo Katsuki stood up. Izuku-kun. Uraraka Ochako looked at Midoriya Izuku anxiously, not knowing what was going on. Seeing Midoriya Izuku like this, her heart ached. Bakugo Katsuki came to Midoriya Izuku's side and dragged his body out of the bounds with all his strength. As long as he was dragged out of bounds, he would win. But Midoriya Izuku was not reconciled. Although his body was already very weak, he still persisted, rubbing his feet on the ground constantly, trying to slow down Xiao Sheng's drag. What are you still insisting on? Bakugo Katsuki turned his head and shouted, it's better to be out of bounds honestly. I can't lose. Midoriya Izuku only had these 4 words. It seemed that tears were streaming out. Bakugo Katsuki suddenly paused. He felt a little bit of feeling when he saw Choju, but now they are opponents and cannot sympathize. Since I came to Ua High School, one by one has been crippled to death. Bakugo Katsuki stopped suddenly, because he had already reached the edge of the boundary. Whether it is you, half of the face, and the stinky guy with thunder and lightning, it's annoying. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. After arriving at Ua High School, Bakugo Katsuki learned that his aptitude and talent are only better than most people, and there are others who are better than him and have better talents. Take Shoto Todoroki, for example, who is an escort student, and his strength is also very strong. Besides, Chi Feng is his most hated guy, a guy who is superior and doesn't look at people in his eyes, he hates it when he sees it. I knew that Chi Feng was so annoying. At the time of the USJ incident, he shouldn't have saved him. It was so good to be taken away by the villain alliance, no one would compete with him. But, he is not such a person, Bakugo Katsuki, who is better than him. It would be better to beat him, but if he can't beat him, then work hard soon. Some difficulties are always to be overcome. Only by going upstream can we truly appreciate the hardships of this journey. Not everyone can become a professional hero, nor is everyone a savior. All Might is tired enough by himself, no one to share, staying in that lonely place for a long time. Don't look at his invincible appearance, in fact, his heart may have long been empty. Maybe something is supporting him, but what may be supporting will also dissipate and forget about it. At that time, what should we do? On a messy ground, Bakugo Katsuki dragged Midoriya Izuku's clothes with his right hand, standing only 1 meter away from the boundary. No one spoke, and it seemed that they were all quiet. This kind of battle can no longer be called a battle, it is like 2 best friends who have known each other for a long time, but this kind of relationship is very subtle, it seems to attract and repel each other. Bakugo Katsuki is fire, Midoriya Izuku is water, and fire and water are incompatible. People, but came to a class like this. Unknowingly, from looking up to a person to being able to challenge someone, this subtle gap has already changed in Bakugo Katsuki's heart. He can tolerate Midoriya Izuku becoming stronger, but he absolutely cannot tolerate that Midoriya Izuku is better than him. Sorry for a long time, let's go and rest. Before the sound was over, Bakugo suddenly felt a new pain in his stomach again. He looked at his stomach in disbelief. This guy actually put his head on his stomach. The 2 fell out of the bounds in an instant and fell to the ground. Wow, the 2 of them fell out of bounds at the same time. This battle is like this. Present Mike yelled. Bakugo Katsuki and Midoriya Izuku seemed to be chatting before. Their conversation and feelings were in a delicate situation, so he didn't interrupt the thoughts of the two of them, so he didn't speak. Now that the two of them are all falling out of the bounds, no one thought that Midoriya Izuku would be dragged out of the field by Bakugo Katsuki, and this battle would end. But an abnormal change occurred at a critical moment, leading to a changed ending. Smelly Long, you dare to play yin. Bakugo Katsuki didn't expect Midoriya Izuku to come suddenly, causing both of them to fly out of bounds. Midoriya Izuku fell to the ground at this time and had no reaction at all. He has no strength and can only breathe. He is still too bad now. Compared with Xiaosheng, there is still some distance. Chi Feng's expression is uncertain. He knows that neither Bakugo Katsuki and Midoriya Izuku are doing their best. At least Bakugo Katsuki's strength is far more than that, at least it will be similar to Shoto Todoroki, and the game ended very quickly, which is equal to that. Close hand-to-hand combat. That kind of large-scale explosion has never occurred, and it can be seen that Bakugo Katsuki still has a hand. Then let us see who fell out of the field first and fell to the ground. Present Mike began to play the previous scene on the big screen. Everyone looked at the screen. At this moment, Bakugo Katsuki and Midoriya Izuku could be seen flying out of bounds at the same time, and then Bakugo Katsuki's body was slightly sideways, falling to the ground 1 second later than Midoriya Izuku. The result was obvious. Present Mike announced loudly, "This game, Bakugo Katsuki wins." Next is the final game, Chi Feng vs. Bakugo Katsuki. Let's wait and see. Present Mike waved his hand and said, "The game will start in 1 hour after a 1 hour break." Midoriya Izuku was carried on the shelf by the medical staff. Although he lost, he tried his best. If he uses the attack method that can hurt the small victory, he will not use it. Therefore, he can only say that he did his best. Bakugo Katsuki breathed a sigh of relief and finally won. The person who was bullied by him that hour later has the strength to compete with him. It seems that he has to work harder. Work harder. Chapter 112 Final Battle. After Midoriya Izuku and Bakugo Katsuki had a rest, the game still had an hour to start. The next is the final battle, and the sports festival has entered the final runoff. This game is the most anticipated. Chi Feng didn't feel any pressure, lying on the bench in the changing room with his legs folded and closed his eyes to rest. Hiroshima Eijiro walked in and saw Chi Feng resting so indifferently. He immediately asked, "Mr. Chi Feng, aren't you nervous? The final game will start in less than an hour." "What's so nervous? Bakugo's strength has really improved, but it is still relatively rare to beat me," Chi Feng said casually, suddenly feeling a little hungry. Hiroshima Eijiro twitched the corners of his mouth. Maybe Chi Feng was the only one in the first grade. Maybe he was a heresy. "Kishima, do you want to have something to eat together?" Chi Feng stood up. "Stop it, the game is about to start, you won't be able to digest food now. I treat you, you can eat whatever you want. Then go." Chi Feng rolled his eyes and waited for his treat when he co-authored. After the two came to the cafeteria, there were obviously a lot of people here. After all, the cafeteria was open all day, and students in need could come and eat. However, you need to pay for eating and eating. Hiroshima Eijiro's living expenses are limited, so if he can't eat any good food, Chi Feng doesn't matter. He can't spend the money now, so he can eat whatever he wants. "I want this, and this, wow, I also have this, I want it." Although Hiroshima Eijiro is a little embarrassed, his relationship with Chi Feng is usually like this. It is not good or bad, but they are all classmates. It's always good to go closer. Chi Feng also ordered some food. After sitting down, Hiroshima Eijiro walked over and started eating. "Chi Feng, thank you for your hospitality," Hiroshima Eijiro said with a smile, and then asked in confusion without eating 2 mouthfuls. "By the way, Chi Feng, you are also a student, but why do you have so much living expenses? Is the family rich?" Chi Feng shook his head and said, "It's not like that. My parents are no longer there. I usually work for the office, so I have money to spend. Don't talk nonsense about this. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Ah, I'm sorry, I don't know how things are in your house." Hiroshima Eijiro said sorry, then looked at Chi Feng and said, "Isn't the office not recruiting students, and it doesn't have a professional hero's certificate? If there is no office, unless there is a temporary license. That's so right, but it's okay to help the firm. What I do is to assist those professional heroes, the one-star firm. Some people don't have a hero's license, but it's still the same. Take the task and do it. Can this be the case?" Hiroshima Eijiro was immediately tempted. It is true that his living expenses can't satisfy his appetite. Who doesn't want to make more money? Chi Feng smiled. "Kishima-san, do you want to make extra money together?" "Yes." Hiroshima Eijiro waited for these words. "Well, now Mr. Boom. Oh no, Shoto Todoroki has already joined, and now you join in. Maybe you have to bring 2 more people to take up the task together, but it may be dangerous, after all, we are not professional heroes. Chi Feng should make clear the pros and cons. But the reward is very high. At least 1 task is completed, which is more than 3 times your current living expenses, and maybe more. Hiroshima Ajiro suddenly stood up, patted Chi Feng on the shoulder and said, Chi Feng, with your strength, I think it is comparable to professional heroes, and may even be stronger, so I am completely relieved to follow you. 3 times the living expenses. This is what he dreams of, and he can eat whatever he wants. The final game is about to start. Please Chi Feng and Bakugo Katsuki to prepare for the battlefield. Present Mike's voice sounded, the audience began to boil, and finally the game came. Chi Feng looked at Hiroshima and said, the game is about to start. I will let you know when the time comes. You can eat here. Unknowingly, an hour passed quickly. Chi Feng and Hiroshima Ajiro talked here for an hour without knowing that the food on the plate is almost empty at the moment. Hiroshima Ajiro also stood up. I'm done. The final game was very exciting, come on. When Chi Feng came to the war preparation zone, Bakugo Katsuki was the first to see, and Bakugo Katsuki also saw Chi Feng. You give me a good enlightenment. Bakugo Katsuki said unceremoniously. For him, Chi Feng is the biggest villain. Chi Feng smiled. Bakugo sang, don't be too angry, you won't be handsome if you have acne. Lousy wants you to take care of it. Bakugo Katsuki said in his heart. You know that Lousy is handsome. At this time, Present Mike's voice sounded. Please enter the arena for both players. Chi Feng and Bakugo Katsuki walked out and walked into the finals under the eyes of everyone. At this moment, the ground was completely repaired by the cement division and reinforced. After the two entered the arena and walked in different directions, about 50 meters apart, Present Mike said passionately, we will wait and see the final election, let's start. At the beginning, Bakugo Katsuki rushed towards Chi Feng like a rocket. Chi Feng watched this guy rush towards him without thinking, and shook his head. This is Bakugo's temper. Get me down. Bakugo Katsuki suddenly moved his hands forward, and a huge explosion spread from the palm of his hand, directly surrounding Chi Feng 10 meters away. Chi Feng waved one hand and a azure blue lightning struck out. Bakugo Katsuki did not expect that when he attacked Chi Feng could resist so decisively. Fortunately, the lightning speed was not fast, so he avoided it. Chi Feng was directly affected by the explosion, and his upper body was smashed to reveal strong muscles. The reason why Chi Feng didn't hide is that I wanted to see how strong Bakugo Katsuki was. Now it seems that it's okay. The brown-black smoke had not dissipated yet. Chi Feng rushed out like a flash of lightning, and the spherical thunder in his hand hit Bakugo Katsuki's stomach. Bakugo Katsuki's anger arose, and the explosion brewing in his hand hit again. This time the scope was extremely small, but the power was greater than the previous one. It collided with Chi Feng's spherical lightning, and the smoke burst into light. The two actually started to fight in close quarters. Chi Feng didn't want to end the battle so quickly, so he played with the boy Bakugo so as not to frustrate his spirit, and it wouldn't be good for him to become a waste. In this way, the two of them fought so hard that every punch hit the flesh. The audience who watched them were extremely excited and loudly applauded. Chapter 113. Chi Feng's body is no different from ordinary people. It may be slightly stronger than Bakugo Katsuki at best, but it is also limited. After fighting with Bakugo Katsuki for a few minutes, Chi Feng found it boring and wanted to end the battle soon. At this moment Bakugo Katsuki grinned, there is a flaw. Chi Feng saw a very dazzling red light flashing on Bakugo Katsuki's right hand. He knew he was careless. The next moment the red light hit Chi Feng's chest, and Chi Feng was directly affected by the red light. Knock and fly towards the outside world. This is a trick I specially prepared for the sports festival. Exciting, right? Bakugo Katsuki grinned. As long as he was hit by this trick, he would inevitably fall out of the bounds, which he tried many times. Present Mike took the microphone and said, Bakugo's trick is so dark, will Chi Feng fly out of bounds because of it? However, Bakugo Katsuki still underestimated Chi Feng. Although he was affected by the impact of this red light, he was almost shot out of bounds. Bakugo Katsuki can use the quirk to boost, and Chi Feng can do the same, put his hands back, 2 lightning flashes, instantly stabilized his body about to fly out of the bounds, and landed half a meter away from the bounds. Down. How is it possible? Bakugo Katsuki, the boss with eyes wide open, looked at Chi Feng in disbelief. In his estimation, Chi Feng would definitely fall out of the field. This is his latest shock blasting technique, which is powerful and powerful. It should be unstoppable. Chi Feng thinks it can be over. Bakugo Katsuki's strength is much stronger than before, but it seems to be slightly worse than Shoto Todoroki. The most important thing is that Bakugo has a bad temper, even if he gets into the office. It's also a troublesome thing, the guy who doesn't obey the command. Chi Feng likes obedient children, wait for a chance to train this kid in the future to see if there is any plasticity. It's almost time to end. Chi Feng took a few steps forward, but the next moment his eyelids jumped up. Since starting to practice, his intuition and senses are very keen, and this feeling gives him a kind of death. The breath is very strong. At the moment, Chi Feng didn't bother to pay attention to Bakugo Katsuki. He looked at the people around him, but he didn't realize there was any danger that would kill him. Chi Feng raised his head, and his pupils suddenly shrank. At a height that was difficult for mortals to see with naked eyes, Chi Feng saw a fiery red light falling towards here. This is a meteorite. Chi Feng's heart trembled. He just saw it earlier than ordinary people. At this time, he remembered Sister Ying's dream. There were alien creatures in that meteorite, killing many professional heroes. At this moment, Chi Feng realized the seriousness of the situation. The place where the meteorite fell happened to be the center of the sports festival venue, which is the venue where Chi Feng is located. There are so many professional heroes here, so Inoue Ying said he died. Many career heroes, it turned out to be like this. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Why does it happen at this time? Chi Feng felt a little anxious and looked in the direction of All Might. Obviously, All Might didn't know about the meteorite. Chi Feng didn't have time to think about it. He directly addressed everyone present and used the Thor's second coming quirk to amplify his voice several times and shout like thunder. Everyone will leave here immediately. A disaster will happen. The sound rolled like thunder and passed into everyone's ears. At this moment, everyone couldn't figure it out. I don't know what Chi Feng said suddenly. There is a problem with his brain. What's the matter with Chi Feng? Hiroshima Eijiro said in a puzzled manner, and the sudden turn of the gods made people unprepared. Isn't Chi Feng stupid by Bakugo? Tetsu said silently. Tokiyami Fumikage stood aside and didn't speak. He also felt an ominous premonition, but he couldn't tell. Seeing that these people didn't seem to stand up at all, Chi Feng was a little panicked. If this continues, everyone will die. Although there are so many professional heroes here, if the creatures in the meteorite are very powerful, they can't be defeated by too many people. All Might frowned. He saw Chi Feng looking towards him just now. He didn't know what it meant at the time. Now Chi Feng said this again. Did he find any instability in the court? However, even if the villain alliance came, it would be a miserable defeat here, and nothing frightening would happen at all. The marksman stood up suddenly, looked at the sky solemnly and said, he is right, maybe we are in trouble. All Might and a group of teachers also looked towards the sky, and a fiery red object was approaching here quickly. Notify Present Mike, stop the game. All Might waved directly. The cement division immediately picked up the phone and made a call. Present Mike was wondering why Chi Feng suddenly did this. The cement division's phone rang. Hello. End the game immediately, we are in trouble. Cement division said solemnly. Huh, Present Mike didn't react, can the sports festival still have trouble? All Might said, execute it immediately. The cement division didn't bother to talk to the Spit King, and hung up the phone directly after speaking. Present Mike is a bit inexplicable, but since All Might said it, he took it and took the microphone and coughed twice. Although I don't know what happened, our game can't go on. Now I'm announcing end the game, everyone exits. What? The people in the audience suddenly became uproarious. What is the situation? How can the final competition of the sports festival be terminated? This is just when I saw the excitement. Bakugo Katsuki didn't know what was going on at this time, but he always cared that Chi Feng blocked his tricks, which made him very uncomfortable. The people in the audience started to make noise. They didn't know what happened, so how could it be possible to terminate the game inexplicably and let them go? I must also blame the cement division for not expressing clearly, otherwise Present Mike would not say so casually. Chi Feng already knows that the matter is irreversible, and now I can only pray not to die too many people. The crimson meteorite fell rapidly, toward the center of the sports festival venue. It was also at this time that everyone discovered this earth-shattering change, and there was a meteorite falling. Run away! Some ordinary citizens shouted loudly. Stampede incidents continued to occur. Some people did not move because they found that the place where the meteorite fell was the place where Chi Feng was, and the venue was so large that it should not be able to reach the audience, so they did not escape. Guys, let's go up and block this meteorite. All Might stood up, his momentum changed in vain, and his body was instantly huge. Chapter 114. A terrifying meteorite. Why can't you stop my tricks? Bakugo Katsuki apparently also noticed that the meteorite was rushing towards him and Chi Feng, but he still wanted to ask this question. You will understand later. Chi Feng hurried to Bakugo Katsuki's side after saying this, picked him up with one hand, and ran away. Let me down. Bakugo Katsuki felt so ashamed that Chi Feng was carrying him and running, and what was going on with Chi Feng's speed just now, he couldn't see clearly. Chi Feng ignored Bakugo Katsuki and took him to the edge of the field before stopping. Now don't talk so much nonsense. There will be deadly battles. Our level is to deliver food. Just stay here honestly. What? Bakugo Katsuki wanted to go crazy, but when he heard Chi Feng say this, I always felt something was wrong. At this moment, the broadcast of the sports festival came to an abrupt end. All the pictures of the spectators in front of the TV turned into mosaics, and the sports festival disappeared. However, some people at the scene used their mobile phones to broadcast live, filming flaming meteorites falling from the sky, constantly spreading the latest news of the sports festival. What's the matter? That's a meteorite. The millions of viewers in front of the TV were all puzzled. This happened too suddenly. Something has happened, let's go and take a look at the venue. Death Chiquan obviously realized that something was wrong, and the live broadcast was interrupted. Most of the students in Heroes SA class ran into the arena and came to Chi Feng's side. Looking at these classmates, Chi Feng didn't know what to say. At this time, he was still in the mood to join in the fun. You are really not afraid of death, this is about to be over, everyone should run away. Chi Feng scared these guys, but what he said was the truth. What are you afraid of? Isn't it just a meteorite falling? Hiroshima Eijiro said with a smile. Even if there is something, you still have to protect us, right? Chi Feng also shook his head speechlessly. He still doesn't have the strength to protect everyone, at best he can only help everyone from being affected. Shoto Todoroki looked at Chi Feng and asked, do you know what? As for Chi Feng's discovery of meteorites from the very beginning, it must have a subtle relationship with it than everyone on the scene found. Shoto Todoroki thinks that Chi Feng might know something. Yes, I do know something, but this is a bit complicated to say, I still don't say it, everyone pay attention to your own safety. Chi Feng nodded, Shoto Todoroki observed very carefully. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Student Chi Feng, are we not going to die? Hagakure Toru said with some worry. This question is also what some girls think. Everyone is approaching Chi Feng and Shoto Todoroki. No matter where they are, the strong are worthy of relying on. Yaoyorozu Momo even came directly behind Chi Feng, so she seemed to feel more at ease. Chi Feng comforted everyone. Everyone, don't run around, I believe there will be nothing wrong. There are All Might and so many professional heroes here. Everyone was relieved and looked up at the meteorite that was about to fall in the sky. All Might and a group of teachers came to the place where Chi Feng was before. Looking at the size of the meteorite in the sky, it shouldn't cause any harm. All Might said to everyone, let's work together, Cement Division, it's up to you. The Cement Division nodded solemnly. After pressing his hands on the ground, he immediately lifted the solid cement up to form a huge protective platform. The other teachers surrounded this side to prevent the impact of the meteorite falling. Come! The marksman suddenly shouted. Boom! There was an explosion, and the protective platform made by the Cement Division was instantly disintegrated, and the meteorite fell to the ground like a cannonball, smashing a huge deep pit on the ground. Fortunately, these teachers responded quickly and avoided the impact of the meteorite. Power! All Might stepped forward 2 steps, came to the edge of the huge pit, watched the white smoke in the deep pit continue to emit, frowning. He felt a strong breath of life, which he had never seen before. Is there life in this meteorite? The meteorite has fallen to the ground. The people in the audience yelled, and the live broadcast on the mobile phone turned to the eyes of every citizen who was paying attention to the sports festival. The white mist gradually dissipated, and the sharpshooter was the first to realize that something was wrong. As soon as the gun on his waist was drawn out, an invisible blade light split his gun in half. Go! The sharpshooter knew that the trouble was serious. The speed at which he drew his gun was not something that ordinary people could reflect. It was at this time that the life in the meteor directly cut off his grab, which was faster than him. It was already a step too late when I said the words fast. Numerous blade-ons attacked indiscriminately from the giant pit. Cement Division's body was instantly covered with scars, and Aizawa Shota was also hit by these blade-ons. The worst thing was the auditorium. These blades spread out overwhelmingly, flying to a long distance, directly splitting the man who was broadcasting into 3 or 4 segments, and landed on the seat. The professional heroes and underground heroes in the audience began to defend one after another. This sudden change killed nearly 1,000 people, and the sports festival turned into a hell on earth. Hundreds of blade lights flew towards Chi Feng's location, and the students showed a look of horror. They had known that they would not stay here anymore. Even the professional heroes had died so many and the teacher was also injured. They actually looking for death here. Shoto Todoroki's hand suddenly waved, and a huge ice wall appeared, blocking the front of everyone. Hundreds of blades smashed and shattered Shoto Todoroki's ice wall. Chi Feng stepped forward and stepped out with 90% of the power, waved a net of thunder and lightning to block all the blades that rushed. Shoto Todoroki and Bakugo Katsuki obviously discovered that Chi Feng didn't use all his strength in the game. If Chi Feng used this kind of trick at the time, I am afraid they would have been eliminated long ago. Chi Feng became weak at once, took 2 steps back, and suddenly touched the softness, only to find that he was leaning against Yaoyorozu Momo. Yaoyorozu Momo did not feel ashamed at this time, but looked at Chi Feng's eyes and said, "Thank you for protecting the whole class." After speaking, I still don't forget to thank Shoto Todoroki. If Chi Feng and Shoto Todoroki hadn't shot at the same time, they might have been split into several pieces. Students, let's leave now, here is not something we can participate in now. Ida Tenya yelled eagerly. Midoriya Izuku looked at All Might anxiously. He saw that All Might had more than a dozen wounds on his body, all covered with bloodline. Chi Feng nodded and said, "Girls and classmates who think they are not good enough to leave quickly, and something even worse may happen next. Everyone, follow me." Mineta Minoru was so scared that he pulled Ashido Mina's clothes and said, Aoyama Yuga also turned blue and said, "Yeah, let's go, we will all die if this continues." Chapter 115 Powerful Alien Creature. In the end, most of the classmates left. Only Tokiyami Fumikage, Shoto Todoroki, Bakugo Katsuki, Midoriya Izuku, Hiroshima Eijiro, Yaoyorozu Momo, Ida Tenya and Chi Feng remained. All Might's face was ugly at this time. His sturdy body was smashed by these blades and caused so much damage. It can be seen that the things under this huge pit are terrifying. The injured people leave quickly. This is not something you can deal with. The symbol of peace is truly manifested at this time, and only All Might can stand there so upright, and the rest of the teachers have suffered injuries that are neither minor nor serious. Be careful. The cement division knew that he couldn't help much, and left with a few injured teachers. The ethereal ghost said at this moment, "What shall we do now?" When he comes up, this must be an alien creature. I don't know whether I can deal with it with my quirk. If even as people can't deal with it, the earth may be finished. Aizawa Shota's expression was unprecedentedly solemn. At this time, more than 100 professional heroes rushed down from the audience to help. They also knew something was wrong. As professional heroes, they must do their best. What's the situation? Best Genist ran over, followed by Endeavor, Gangster Killer Whale, Long Snake Heroes Anaconda, Battle Heroes Musket Head, Ignium, Paper Striker Execute and many other professional heroes. Even you are hurt. Endeavor frowned. The guy who can hurt All Might is absolutely strong. Everyone, be careful, the things below are very powerful. Seeing so many professional heroes come to help, All Might also had a lot of confidence in his heart. After all, his transformation time is limited and he cannot use too much power. Hey, the little guys over there, this is not your place to stay, hurry up and leave. Before Ignium finished speaking, he saw Ida Tenya. Brother, be careful. Ida Tenya hasn't seen his brother for a while, and he is still a little excited. Although this kind of change has happened today, the more than 100 professional heroes present are usually difficult to see. The opportunity to get together is even rarer. Ida, you leave here quickly, don't join in the fun. Ida Tianqing exclaimed, if something happens to the younger brother, how will he explain to him when he goes home? At this moment, the white mist dissipated, and the appearance of the alien creature appeared in a large pit several hundred meters in radius. Slender figure, white skin with purple lines, a single horn on his head, and purple eyes full of evil. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Killers are always killed. No matter where you are from, you must be punished for killing so many people. A professional hero stepped forward, without fear of this alien creature. The white-purple alien creature glanced at the speaker, his hand was like a sword, and then he split it. A purple ripple instantly split the professional heroes in half, but the power did not stop there, and it stretched out dozens of times. Cut a deep long ditch on the ground. Everyone took a breath. Endeavor also realized the seriousness of the situation and shouted, everyone do it. Endeavor took the lead, and a fiery flame swept crazy from his body towards the alien creatures. The rest of the professional heroes started their hands one after another. Numerous noises erupted from the pit, and smoke filled the hole. Help me! A professional heroes yelled frantically. The alien creature had already arrived in front of him. He was 2 meters tall and directly raised his hand to pinch his head. When he said this, the head suddenly exploded. All Might exploded and came to it in the blink of an eye, punching it in the stomach. Boom! With a muffled sound, this alien creature might not have thought that someone could hit it. At this time, All Might flew out with a punch and knocked it down on a stone wall hundreds of meters away. Sure enough, it is All Might, the number 1 heroes. Someone in the professional heroes exclaimed excitedly. As long as All Might can deal with that guy, everything will be solved, but the creature is too strong. Endeavor's limelight was once again robbed by All Might, and the second child of 10,000 years was really talking about him. Chi Feng's face was a bit ugly. Don't look at All Might's punch that knocked it off, that was when the opponent was unprepared, and the next time was really hard to fight. It's gone. Someone exclaimed in surprise. Ah, there was a scream. Not far behind All Might, 4 professional heroes were broken into their hearts and died, and there was no room for salvation. Everyone, be careful, don't get distracted, this guy likes to kill with one hit, don't let him find a chance to start. The ethereal ghost said loudly, and at the same time, he cloned dozens of himself with exactly the same words, reminding every professional heroes. Now everyone knows that facing this unknown villain, everyone has no bottom. The purple ripple that the guy raised his hand and cleaved before is so powerful, it may be a nightmare today. Sweat dripped from All Might's forehead, and the opponent's speed had already reached a certain level. Although he could keep up with his naked eyes, it was very inconvenient to act. After passing one for all to the Midoriya boy, his current strength is not as good as one day. The current strength in the body is the result of so many years of accumulation. If he alone deals with this guy, it is obviously impossible. The alien creatures are very fast. They came to Best Genist and raised their hands and grabbed his head. Best Genist deserves to be the third one. The steel wire in his hands instantly twists behind him. His master of Quirk fiber can deal with villain a little bit difficult. The alien creatures were temporarily restrained after their hands were entangled. At this time, some powerful professional heroes rushed over. This is not an ordinary wire. It's not like that if you want to break free. Before the word easy was said, the wire that Best Genist was proud of was broken, and the alien creature's fingertips grabbed his heart. Best Genist was suddenly shocked. It was too late to react. Is he going to die here? All Might punched it again. This time he didn't hesitate, and he chased it directly, fighting with the alien creatures. Saved. Best Jeanist walked through life and death, all his back was soaked, and the paw just pulled out, it was impossible to stop it with his body. It is conceivable that if he did not hide this paw, his heart would be pierced. No matter where you are from, the earth is not where you go wild. The blue light in All Might's eyes lit up, and he can no longer hold back, otherwise the professional heroes will die one after another. Only when he uses all his strength can he kill this guy. Chapter 116 Endeavor. Bang bang bang. The violent fighting wave came, and all the bricks and tiles on the surrounding ground were shattered. All Might hit it firmly with every punch, causing a strong wave. The alien creature was not inferior, and opened his blood basin and screamed, and every punch hit All Might's body because it felt pain. Fighting this guy, there is a feeling of facing Nomu again, but it seems to be much more difficult to deal with than Nomu. Nomu has no autonomous consciousness and needs human control. And this guy's intelligence is very high, much more cunning than humans. All Might. In the base camp of the Villain Alliance, Shigaraki Tamura watched the battle, and the creature in the meteorite gave him a very strange feeling. Shigaraki Tamura considers himself to be a person in the dark, and now it seems that the darkness of the alien creature has surpassed him. No, it can't be called darkness, it should be a kind of evil. Shigaraki Tamura, All Might will kill it soon. Should I bring it back? Kurogiri knew that the Villain Alliance now needs manpower and fresh blood. Although it is an alien creature, it does not mean that it cannot be communicated. If you bring it back, they will have a way to communicate. Shigaraki Tamura turned his gaze to Kurogiri flatly. Bring it back. Can you beat it? This. Kurogiri didn't think about this. Only at this time, he realized that even All Might had to fight with all his strength, but after thinking about it, he said, we have Nomu here and we are not afraid of it. Forget it, Nomu's current level of Muna can't protect us at all. That guy is beyond our control. If he dies, he will die. Shigaraki Tamura shook his head, without considering including the alien creature. At the moment, there are still many people in the sports festival venue recording videos with their mobile phones, even live broadcasts, but the figure of All Might and the alien creatures cannot be captured, and the speed is too fast. Puff. All Might spit out a mouthful of blood again, and his aura became a little weak, as did the alien creatures. There were at least dozens of fist marks on his body, all of which were hit by All Might. It's not a way to go on like this, we can get some strength. Ingnam said nervously. If All Might were to fall, no one would really be able to cure that guy. However, our strength is no longer on the same plane as them, and we will be killed instantly. The gang killer whale said. He was referring to Best Jeanist. Even Best Jeanist was almost killed. How can they go up there? Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Even if Endeavor goes up, it will be seriously injured. After all, no one can beat All Might in terms of speed and strength. Number 13 took 2 steps forward, but Aizawa Shota said, forget it, your quirk is useless at its speed, don't bother. On the 13th, she can only give up. She knows where the drawbacks of her quirk are. As Senior Aizawa said, if Villain's speed is fast, her quirk will be greatly reduced, or even useless. Chi Feng and the others are very nervous. This situation is not something they can intervene at all. Even if Chi Feng's current quirk level is above LV5, it is impossible to live for more than 10 seconds in the hands of that alien creature. These 10 seconds is still Chi Feng looking at himself. He has an absolute advantage in speed. If he stimulates 100% of the speed, he can escape for 10 seconds. Midoriya Izuku had already clenched his fists and looked at All Might intently. He knew that All Might's body is not as good as before. After the USJ incident, although Chi Feng's help, his strength was also compromised. It was far from before powerful. What Chi Feng and others didn't know was that on the high wall behind them, at the front end of the seat sat a person who was wrapped in a black robe. Although he was wrapped in a black robe, he could feel from the inside out. The light emitted. After knocking the alien creature into the air again, All Might panted heavily. He felt that his time was running out and he couldn't go on like this anymore. If he couldn't kill that guy in a short time, it would be really troublesome. Endeavor had to admit the fact that All Might was stronger than him, even though he was very burly and sturdy, but he couldn't do it if he wanted to fight the alien creature at close range. What he is good at is the burning quirk Hell Flames. In the burning quirk, no one dares to be the first when he claims the second. But this kind of quirk against the power system pales in comparison. The general power system is accompanied by an advantage in speed. If he suddenly shoots at him without releasing the quirk, then Endeavor is indeed not an opponent of the power system. But, as long as he stays away from the crowd, he is invincible. At the next moment, Endeavor was already moving, rushing to the alien creature that was knocked off quickly. His son Shoto Todoroki was still watching, but he couldn't let him look down on his father. Endeavor. All Might panted heavily. He wanted to regain his strength quickly. He remembered the thing Chi Feng sucked on him at USJ. It happened that Chi Feng was here. He wanted to ask him if he still had that something. Endeavor rushed out as a result. All Might, you are no longer in the past, give me the first position. Endeavor sneered, and came to the front of the alien creatures, hot flames swept out of his body. Relentless flames. An overwhelming flame swept out, and there seemed to be a flame-shaped skull in the flame, which flew towards the alien creatures like a ruthless white bone, enclosing it in an instant. The roar came, and the alien creatures also felt pain. It couldn't figure out why there are so many powerful creatures here. Did it hit the wrong place by mistake? Seeing his dad's power, Shoto Todoroki snorted, and didn't think Endeavor is so hockey. Men are not the most handsome in battle, but when they love their relatives and people they value, handsome. And none of these Endeavor did. He hurt his mother, and her mother seemed to never forgive Endeavor's behavior. A purple light flashed in the eyes of the blazing alien creature, and his hands folded forward and slammed forward. A huge purple ripple separated Endeavor's ruthless flames like 1,000 waves on the sea, and slashed towards Endeavor. All Might was too late to rescue. Endeavor's shocked expression already reacted, and he burst out, "Hellfire is coming." In an instant, Endeavor's entire body turned into flames, his figure soared, and the Flame Man, who was more than 3 meters high, blocked the purple ripples that had been smashed. The purple ripple cut Endeavor in half without any hindrance. Yue cut out dozens of meters before stopping, and an extremely deep gully had already been formed on the ground. Shoto Todoroki almost rushed up. Endeavor was split in half. Everyone saw it. Can the second strongest in the island country be unable to stop that guy's attack? All Might breathed a sigh of relief. He knew that Endeavor would be fine, but injury was inevitable. He elementified himself to avoid this mortal blow. It seems that Endeavor has also made progress over the years. Chapter 117 The First Emperor of Shibuya. Half a minute later, the split Endeavor elemental body closed again, and he knelt down on one knee after showing his original shape. Although his elementalization escaped the mortal blow, it also caused him to suffer serious injuries. The purple ripple of the other party was very strange, and it contained a strange aura that he had never seen before. However, Chi Feng was aware that there was a familiar breath in the purple ripple, Yuan Li. Suddenly Chi Feng's body shook. Isn't this alien creature a guy in the base building period, or is it a 9th level Chi training? According to Chi Feng's estimation, he is now in the 4th level of Chi training, and it is impossible to defeat All Might. At least it will be the opponent of All Might until the foundation period, but Chi Feng feels that this alien creature has no foundation period, maybe not even in the later stage of Chi training. Then why is it so powerful? When everyone saw that Endeavor was okay, they were relieved. The paper front shooter quickly came to Endeavor and led him to a safe area. All Might sighed and straightened up again, looking at Chi Feng. It happened that Chi Feng also looked at All Might at this time. He knew what All Might was thinking. He had Quirk supplements. When he was about to talk, Chi Feng suddenly felt cold, and a feeling of death surged. Heart. Suck. All Might was shocked. The alien creature actually looked at Chi Feng. Could it be that it noticed something? In an instant, the alien creature came to Chi Feng's body, with his right hand digging into Chi Feng's heart. All Might rushed quickly, but found that it was still a little slower. Shoto Todoroki and Bakugo Katsuki couldn't react at all, but at this moment Midoriya Izuku had already punched out, colliding with the claws of the alien creatures. Midoriya Izuku's right hand was instantly scrapped, and it was even heavier than the previous injury. At this moment, his hand was completely black, and his whole person slammed into the wall like a spring. Because of Midoriya Izuku's punch blocking, All Might has already come to Chi Feng, knocked the alien creatures into the air with a punch, then looked at Midoriya Izuku inside the wall and asked, "Midoriya boy, are you okay?" Midoriya Izuku gritted his teeth and said firmly, "I'm fine, All Might, you must beat it." Chi Feng took out the Quirk supplement and handed it to All Might. "This is for you." All Might took a deep look at Chi Feng and Midoriya Izuku, and then took a sip from the Quirk supplement. The next moment his physical injuries recovered and his aura became even higher. All professional heroes found out. All Might seemed to be back in strength. "All Might, do you want the jade and the stone to be burned?" Endeavor suddenly shouted, and he naturally saw All Might's back become bigger, obviously stronger than before. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. In his opinion, All Might wants to burn the jade and the stone. If facing this kind of opponent, if the jade and the stone are not burned, everyone may die. Some of these people may be mortal. It doesn't matter, it's okay now. All Might turned around and grinned. The next moment he came to the alien creature and punched out. Boom. There was a terrifying wave, and the alien creatures were shocked. What kind of power is this, and why is it stronger than before? Is it because of that kid? Alien creatures saw Chi Feng handed All Might a red object, and after a sip, it became what it is now. The storm-like fist shadow hit the alien creatures, and the alien creatures were just tired of coping. It was no longer as strong as before, and now being beaten violently by All Might, it is even more powerless. Ha! The aliens shook their whole body, and a shock wave was sent out from the body, shook All Might away, and then quickly killed Chi Feng again. Chi Feng already feels that death is right in front of him. At this moment, he wants to use all his strength without reservation, because he knows that if he doesn't use it now, he may never use it again. Chi Feng boy! All Might yelled, but he felt it was too late. Just when Chi Feng tried his best, a golden light suddenly lit up in the sky, and a huge golden fist fell from the sky, smashing the alien creature directly into the ground. Chi Feng immediately said to the classmates nearby, everyone is coming to the professional heroes. After everyone reacted, they quickly ran towards the professional heroes. Bakugo Katsuki understood today that his own strength is simply weaker than these famous professional heroes. The professional heroes that was killed before. Also much stronger than him. Even so, Bakugo Katsuki's heart to become stronger is even more urgent. He must become stronger. After the golden fist smashed the alien creature into the ground, the man in the black robe jumped off the audience stage, taking off his clothes at the same time, revealing the golden lines all over his body. His whole body shone like Buddha's light. There is a career. Heroes seemed to know this person, but couldn't name him for a while. Underground Heroes, the head of the Shibuya Three Emperors, Divine Fist. Present Mike called out in surprise, and everyone realized that the man in front of him was actually the Underground Heroes. Some people know that Shenquan, the first emperor of Shibuya Underground Heroes, has a terrifying power and is said to be invincible a few years ago. But this invincibility is obviously a bit of an exaggeration, but the strength of the Shenquan is indeed frightening. Chi Feng's pupils shrank. He had already arrived in a safe area, surrounded by professional heroes. At this moment, he realized that he was the leader of Shibuya Underground Heroes, Shenquan. This man with golden light all over his body was extremely dazzling, and the power of that punch was definitely felt by Chi Feng, even if it was not much worse than All Might. The alien creatures are already very annoyed at this moment. Why is there always someone obstructing it, and one is more difficult than the other? After crawling out of the pit, the eyes of the alien creature fell on the body of Shenquan. The man gave him an unmatched feeling, but it knew that this was an illusion. Kill. The next moment it slew towards Shenquan. After a punch, the purple wave of fists rushed towards Shenquan. Shenquan saw that the opponent dared to hit him with his fist, smiled disapprovingly, and raised his hand with a golden fist. He rushed out and defeated the purple fist wave of the alien creature. The golden fist shadow has not yet hit the opponent, the god fist has already rushed over, and the whole body emits a golden light. At the moment when the previous punch hit the alien creature, the golden hand of the god fist has already appeared. I pinched it in the palm of my hand, leaving only one head out. All Might hurriedly came to the alien creature, and slapped it on its head with all strength. Puff! The head was exploded by All Might, and the purple blood rushed to the sky. There were only 4 words in everyone's heart, dead. So strong. Chapter 118. Shenquan put away the golden palms and smiled at All Might, your body is yours, don't force it. After saying this, Shenquan turned into a golden light and flew towards the distant sky. Don't go. Ingnaim raised his hand and shouted. He wanted to prevent Shenquan from leaving. After all, Shenquan is an underground heroes. It can be said to be distinct from the police office and play a different role. But if people in the office see the underground heroes, they will still be arrested. Let him go, and you can't stop it. The paper front shooter said. Without the help of the magic fist, All Might would have to spend a lot of money to kill it, so we have to thank him. Everyone nodded subconsciously, and the paper front shooter was right. Although Shenquan was an underground heroes, he had not done anything harmful. It can be said to be a relatively honest underground heroes. It's just that everyone doesn't understand why Shenquan appears here. It is said that Shenquan has stayed abroad for a long time, but he did not expect to have returned to China. The most shocked by this incident was Chi Feng. Bakugo Katsuki and others were also the first to hear about the underground heroes. Except for Chi Feng, Yaoyorozu Momo, Midoriya Izuku and Shoto Todoroki, none of the other students had heard of it. The story of heroes underground. Now there is a sacred fist with great strength. Listening to what Present Mike said before, this is the head of the 3 emperors of Shibuya Underground Heroes. Although they had no idea about the 3 emperors, with this strength and courage, they knew that the 3 emperors were out of reach. However, everyone knows that Divine Fist is not as powerful as All Might, nor is it necessarily as powerful as Endeavor. The reason why Divine Fist can quickly control alien creatures is because of the previous credits of All Might and Endeavor. Fighting weak. The corpse of the alien creature was lying on the ground, and the purple blood seemed to be drained. All Might did not pay attention to this side anymore. He turned to look at everyone and said, maybe the citizens already know this, and we don't need to hide it. To open the news directly to the public and kill the alien invaders. Present Mike immediately took out his mobile phone and made a call. Then he said, I have notified the police department to come and deal with it. There are too many people who died this time. I'm afraid the school will not be able to bear the pressure. Question mark. QG. Plus. %. What are you afraid of? Endeavor resolutely looked at Present Mike and said, if we don't make a move, I am afraid that the hundreds of thousands of people present will be able to die at least 70 to 80,000. Ask them, do you want to die or want something? Ha ha ha. You are still great Endeavor. Since this is the case, this matter will be settled by you. Present Mike laughed loudly, and everyone's nervousness was relieved, not as serious as before. Clean up the battlefield and see how many professional heroes have died. Best Jeanist has recovered his calm at this moment, but he still has lingering fears about what happened before. If there was no All Might, he would have died. Chi Feng didn't even have a chance to thank Shenquan, but it was okay. Anyway, he will meet Shenquan sooner or later as a legend of the night. Brother Midoriya, thank you so much. Chi Feng said with sincere gratitude. If Midoriya Izuku hadn't punched him, he might be dead. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Midoriya Izuku dragged his abandoned arm and smiled reluctantly. Fortunately, I guessed the timing. Chi Feng took out the Quirk supplement from his arms and put it on Midoriya Izuku's mouth. This last bite is for you. Midoriya Izuku knew the value of Chi Feng, something that could restore All Might's injuries and physical strength in an instant. How could it be simple? He originally wanted to refuse, but after seeing Chi Feng's eyes, he nodded and sucked. At this moment the mutation happened, and the belly of the dead alien creature suddenly burst open, and a purple light wrapped a baby-sized purple sphere and flew toward the sky quickly. Not good. All Might used his feet to chase the purple light instantly. Unexpectedly, this guy hadn't died yet, it seemed that he had other means. Everyone was frightened by this sudden change. The thing was not dead yet, and even the head was blown to death. Bakugo Katsuki glanced at Chi Feng. Before the meteorite fell, Chi Feng said that there would be deadly battles. The result was really like this. There were thousands of dead and injured. How did he know? The more I understand Chi Feng, the more Bakugo Katsuki feels that Chi Feng is mysterious. It seems that there is something hidden from them, which is incompatible with the classmates. Originally, he thought that he and his classmates would not get along well, but he didn't expect Chi Feng to be even worse than him. It seems that he is not on the same channel. Chi Feng was also shocked. Sister Ying seemed to have the ability to predict dreams. Whether it was the last fire or this crisis, Sister Ying was 90% unbiased, but the strange thing is that Sister Ying's quirk is not predicting the future. What? Damn it, flying too high. All Might landed on a roof, watching the purple light disappear into the sky. As long as he can fly, that guy can't run away, but All Might can't fly. At most, he can jump into the high air and glide for a period of time, and he can't fly purely by strength. After the sports festival event broke out, it quickly fermented in the society, various news was flying all over the sky, and there were more and more accusations about Yua High School. But one day these accusations were quickly suppressed, and the professional heroes knew that this was a good thing Endeavor did. This sports festival also has no beginning and end, no champion was born, but most people think that Chi Feng is the champion, so Chi Feng was inexplicably crowned the title of UA Sports Festival champion. Because of the sports festival incident, the school began to prepare an holiday, which can be regarded as a holiday for the students. After all, this incident is very serious, and some students have already developed fear in their hearts. The death toll in the sports festival incident totaled 1,782, of which 456 were professional heroes and the rest were citizens. After the meteorite fell, the Blade Mang killed more than 400 professional heroes, and then killed more than 30 when fighting alien creatures, causing heavy casualties. The most ridiculous thing is that the alien creature hasn't died yet, it seems that its strength has weakened and fled, and All Might has not caught up with it, which has become a hidden danger. However, only a small number of insiders knew about this news, and some citizens who spoke nonsense were arrested, saying it was a crime of spreading rumors. Therefore, in the world, everyone thinks that the matter is over, only a few people know that it is not over, and the crisis may come again at any time in the future.
On the contrary, Chi Feng is no longer so nervous. If the alien creatures come to life in the future, then he will kill the opponent himself. At that time, his Chi Feng's strength can be guessed. Sister Ying, are you better? Chi Feng holding a bunch of flowers and a basket of snacks that Inoue likes to eat. Chi Feng walked into the ward. Inoue Ying smiled when she saw Chi Feng, nodded and said, Xiao Feng, don't bring food every time you come, so that Sister Ying will get fat.
Inoue Sakura was hospitalized because her dreams caused some mental abnormalities. She was in good mood and spirit. Since the sports festival broke out, the pictures of the dead were shown in front of her, and she collapsed. Chi Feng took Inoue Ying to the hospital as soon as he got home. Fortunately, the treatment was early, otherwise Inoue Ying might go crazy. Now a week has passed, and Inoue Ying's body has improved a lot, and her mental state has recovered well. Chi Feng smiled in satisfaction. Eat more, girls, a little meat is more cute. Just your mouth is sweet. Inoue Sakura laughed. Chapter 119 The 108th Palm. Chi Feng saw Inoue Ying smiling very happily and was relieved. After chatting with her for a few hours, Chi Feng left the ward. At this time, the phone rang, and Chi Feng picked up the call and found that Shoto Todoroki was actually calling. Chi Feng, when will you take me to the office? Shoto Todoroki's calm voice came. After the sports festival incident, his personality became more calm, stronger than his father Endeavor, but also split in half. Always lingering in his mind. Because of this, he is more eager to become stronger, and wants to surpass his own bastard father earlier, and even surpass All Might. But when Endeavor was split in half, Shoto Todoroki was indeed very worried that Endeavor would die. But obviously he thinks too much, how could the second child of 10,000 years die so easily? Are you in such a hurry, Mr. Boom? Chi Feng smiled. You come to Bozu in the afternoon, and I will help you arrange it. After Chi Feng hung up the phone, he sent Shoto Todoroki a location and also informed Kirishima Eijiro that the location Chi Feng sent was at Starbucks downstairs in the office. After leaving the hospital, Chi Feng ate a bowl of hot ramen, and then returned to the office in Bozu City. When Chi Feng came to see Chi Feng, Ping Yuan Shangda stood up. He hadn't seen Chi Feng for a while and didn't know he was going to make what happened. Seeing Ping Yuan Shangda sitting in his place, Chi Feng did not scold him, but said, I let you come. I am not living for nothing. There will be 3 little guys here to report. You let Muto take the report. Tell them to go to the police station to select tasks. Wrap it on me, Ping Yuan Shangda said with a pat on his chest, asking why it was a big deal. Chi Feng smiled. Don't forget, you promised me a treat for dinner. Ping Yuan Shangda looked a little unsightly when he heard these words. He didn't expect that the old black was still thinking about his few dollars. He opened an office by himself, and he learned from Gao Mulong that the old black is rich now. It's very. Why? I don't want to. Chi Feng patted the table and said, if you don't have me protecting you now, believe it or not you will be taken away by the leader of Shibuya Underground Heroes Casino. Okay, don't talk about it anymore. Ping Yuan Shangda waved his hand and said, no matter what you eat, lousy is packed. Chi Feng nodded, it's about the same. Looking at the time, it was almost time to come. After Chi Feng left the office, he put the underworld suit away in the toilet, and then walked out of the toilet. There was a Starbucks downstairs. Chi Feng ordered triple milk tea and then sat down. It didn't take long for Shoto Todoroki to arrive. Let's go. Shoto Todoroki didn't mean to sit down. Chi Feng smiled and said, Mr. Hong sits down first, there will be someone coming in a while. Who? Shoto Todoroki asked suspiciously, who else would choose to go to a 1-star firm like him? His dad was an 8-star firm, and he didn't even go. Chi Feng stood up and patted Shoto Todoroki on the shoulder. Sit down, I'll order milk tea for you, I'll know in a while. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Shoto Todoroki sat down and glanced at the milk tea on the table. I don't like drinking this kind of thing. Chi Feng found that Shoto Todoroki was still a bit difficult to serve, it was really half cold and half hot, exactly the same as his Quirk. Chi Feng, classmate H is there too. Kirishima Eijiro came a little late. Chi Feng has finished drinking a cup of milk tea, and is now drinking Shoto Todoroki's cup. Kirishima. Shoto Todoroki was a little surprised, but he didn't have too many surprises. It would be nice to have more Kirishima. After all, it is not conducive to the action that fewer people do tasks. This is yours, Chi Feng said after passing the milk tea to Kirishima. Let's go to the office. After the 3 of them came to the office, Chi Feng knocked on the door, and there was a majestic voice from Ping Yuan, come in. When the 3 of Chi Feng walked in, they saw the old-fashioned Ping Yuan Shangda sitting in the middle, with a serious look. Chi Feng almost laughed. If it weren't for acting well, Chi Feng would have laughed a long time ago, but Shoto Todoroki and Kirishima Eijiro didn't know what kind of urination Hirayama Yuo had. When they saw each other so serious, they became serious. Shoto Todoroki's gaze fell on the top of the majestic plane, and the plaque was written with the words, horror like this. Perhaps this has something to do with the quirk of the legend of the night. Old Hay has something to go. Cough is wrong. Dark Knight legend has something to go. Let me receive you. It is said that you have witnessed the sports festival and want to become stronger. Ping Yuan Shangda asked calmly. Shoto Todoroki actually wanted to say that if it weren't for the face of the 7 sages in the legend of the night, he wouldn't have come. A 1-star office would be quite high. Yes, Shoto Todoroki and Kirishima Eijiro said at the same time, only Chi Feng nodded and said nothing. Why don't you speak? Ping Yuan Shangda didn't know Chi Feng, but he heard Lao He say that he has a better relationship with a kid, and I don't know if it is him. Chi Feng said. Just take us directly to lead the task. Shoto Todoroki, +1. Kirishima Eijiro, +1. Ping Yuan Shangda. Who taught you to talk to seniors like this, even if you were an old black acquaintance? Ping Yuan Shangda said with a full face. Maz is still coming, Chi Feng said directly. Senior Dark Knight asked me to say that, and said that if you were not honest, go to some expensive place to eat. I forgot. Ping Yuan Shang said without saying anything to the house. Muto came out, and quickly take these little ghosts to pick up the task. I think it's upset. It's better than Chi Feng. Kirishima Eijiro laughed in his heart. After Muto came out, he took Chi Feng directly to the task hall of the police station. This task hall was not inside the police station, but an independent location in the center of Bozu City. The police station's mission hall is thousands of square meters, and the missions are countless, whether it is missions in Bozu City or other places. As long as you complete the mission, you will be rewarded by the police station, and the office will accumulate points, and then upgrade to the next level. There are many kinds of tasks here, even helping grandma find the lost cat. Suddenly, Chi Feng feels that this police station's task hall is like a house of everything is in charge. I just don't know if there is silver mulberry. Chi Feng laughed and didn't think about it. This is impossible. When he followed Muto into the hall, there were a lot of people inside, and they seemed to be looking for a task to pick up. Chi Feng suddenly saw a silver-haired man in the crowd, and was shocked. My god, it wouldn't be true. Look at the task first, I'll be waiting for you here. Muto found a place to sit down and couldn't help feeling. The days of licking blood from the sword's mouth are gone, and now I'm living comfortably, and I'm missing a wife. Shoto Todoroki suddenly whispered to Chi Feng. The legend of the night, you promised to let the legend of the night take me through the experience. Chi Feng said embarrassingly, he is a busy man. You also know that there are many things to deal with. We can't get away from it. We can do our own tasks. There may be opportunities in the future. He is night heroes, not daytime heroes, where is the day busy? Shoto Todoroki squinted at Chi Feng and said, you didn't mean to say that because you want to regret it. Why, who do you think of me? Chi Feng said with a curled lips, the Dark Knight legend maintains law and order throughout the night. Of course, you have to sleep during the day. So where is the time? You can only see him at night. When Chi Feng said that, Shoto Todoroki was relieved. Indeed, night heroes meant to sleep during the day. In desperation, Shoto Todoroki and Kirishima Eijiro split up to find missions. They were mainly one-star missions, and none of them could be picked up. Chi Feng walked towards the silver-haired man. He wanted to see if this guy was who. Chapter 120. Hello. Chi Feng stepped forward to greet the silver-haired man. He thought he was a handsome guy, but when the other party turned around, Chi Feng just blurted out, a ghost. Huh. The silver-haired man turned around with his nose and looked at Chi Feng and asked, anything. This FCK is the ugliest version of Yinseng, these two big nostrils, this face shape. I really don't know how to set it up. From the back, he looks like a handsome guy, but after turning around, there is a silver mulberry with big nostrils, which is really hurt. It's okay, excuse me. Chi Feng turned his head and wanted to leave, but heard the call from behind. Wait. Boss, are you okay? Chi Feng turned his head and smiled, very far-fetched. My name is Banshin Yinseng, what is your friend's name? Banshin Yinseng smiled, and casually wiped his hand that was buckling his nose on other people's clothes. That person didn't seem to see. I rely on. Chi Feng was shocked, and Banshin Yinseng. This name is only one word from Sakata Yinshi. It is really Yinseng. I am also drunk. And what is the operation of wiping that booger on someone's body? Isn't this the ugliest version of Yinshi? I've been admiring my name for a long time. My name is Chi Feng. I am a freshman in Ua High School. Yinseng. Do you still have an office called Wanshiwu? Chi Feng laughed. He didn't have much interest in this man. Now the other party says my name is Banshin Yinseng, and Chi Feng suddenly became interested again. Huh. Banshin Yinseng looked at Chi Feng in surprise. How did you know that I have an office, but it's not called the House of All Things, but the House of Broken Things? You said that you have been admiring my name for a long time. Do you want to join me? Thing House. Puff. Chi Feng laughed on the spot. The mess room, is it the kind of mess room that asks you for everything? Why? Look down on my ruined house. Banshin Yinseng alternately placed his hands on his chest and looked at Chi Feng proudly. My ruined house is a Samsung office. You must be here to take the task. If you don't join me, as the director, I will take you to complete the task. After all, you are a student and you need someone to take it. No, I have joined another office, so I won't bother you. Leave a phone call, so I can contact you later. Chi Feng quickly refused. He won't join a mess room, there will be a lot of mess at the time. Waiting for him to deal with it is too much to bear. Banshin Yinseng did not tell Chi Feng on the phone, but just said, how many stars did you join? 1 star. Chi Feng said truthfully. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Little brother, it's a pity that you are not good at your young age. I welcome you to join me at any time. That's it. Sakata Yinseng turned around and continued to buckle his booger. Chi Feng finds it interesting, but Sakata Yinseng seems a little arrogant, but it doesn't matter. Come to the police station mission hall and meet interesting people, the mess room of Sakata Yinseng, wait for him to be free. Let's go again. Chi Feng, I saw a good task, but the number of tasks required 5 people, we only have 3 cannot take it. Kirishima Eijiro and Shoto Todoroki walked over. Take me to see. Chi Feng followed the 2 of them to the corner. A piece of white paper said Sanyan village mission. The content was to help the villagers catch the bandits and return them to a peaceful Shanyan village. Chi Feng said silently. Just 5 people for this mission. Don't underestimate this mission. This mission is the top level in 1 star. I asked someone. Originally, this mission was attributed to 2 stars. You can see the introduction behind it. Shoto Todoroki knows that Chi Feng sees not on this kind of task, after all strength is in front of him, but he still reminded him. Chi Feng turned the white paper to the back and said, there are 38 bandits in Shanyan village. They are capable of committing crimes in groups. The bandit leader's Quirk is invisible, so most people can't catch him at all. Behind this bandit leader there is also a bandit backing, only 20 miles away from Shanyan village. If you encounter heroes who support the general profession, it will be difficult to resist. It's no wonder that 5 people are needed, but 5 people are still a little reluctant to deal with 38 people. There are bandits behind him, which is really complicated. Chi Feng finally knew why no one took this task. First, that is, the bandit leader will be invisible. This kind of quirk is really difficult for ordinary people to find, and the second is that there are bandits backing, and I am afraid that the 5 people will have to hate when they are supported. However, looking at the introduction, these bandits have never killed people, they just rob people and money. Chi Feng still appreciates this, and don't kill people if they take money and money. It seems that these bandits still have some moral bottom line. We took this broken task. Chi Feng agreed to the proposal after clarifying the situation. We are still 2 people behind, what should we do? Hiroshima Eijiro asked. Chi Feng waved his hand and said, everyone, wait here, I'll make 2 calls. Hey, Ida-san, I am looking for you to come to the task hall of the police station. Hello, Brother Midoriya, come to the police station mission hall. After Chi Feng said a few casually, he hung up the phone, and then found a place to sit down. About half an hour later, Midoriya Izuku and Ida Tenya arrived. Kojima-san, is Hun-san, too? Ida Tenya said with bright teeth. Chi Feng feels that Ida Tenya's teeth are getting brighter and brighter, and it may be comparable to the sparkle of diamonds if this continues. Yeah, Ida-san, Izuku-san, you are here. Hiroshima Eijiro did not expect that Chi Feng called these 2 people, and walked over and raised his hand to say hello. Okay, I won't say more nonsense. The 2 of you are called to complete the task. Chi Feng smiled and told them about the affairs of the office and the tasks. Join the firm. Midoriya Izuku was obviously very excited. He knew that Chi Feng was talking about the firm of Underworld, so he was so excited. Yes, I agree, but we have to make a careful plan, otherwise we may get into the mouth. Ida Tenya agreed with Chi Feng's proposal. He also thought it was possible, but he said afterwards, I will not enter the office. Yes, I will go to my brother's office in the future, and I will help you now. No problem, since everyone agrees, then take this task. Chi Feng laughed and came to Muto and said, we want to take this task. After taking a look at the mission, Muto went through the formalities without saying anything. 20 minutes later, the mission was successfully accepted, and Muto rushed back to the office. He was still busy chasing drama and picking up girls. After completing the formalities, Chi Feng took the 4 of them to the restaurant for dinner, and by the way, they discussed the countermeasures and how to accomplish this task. I found a restaurant with better soundproofing. After everyone sat down, Chi Feng waved his hand. You're welcome, just order whatever you want. I have money. It's Chi Feng's grandeur. Hiroshima Eijiro picked up the recipe and started ordering crazy. He has fallen in love with the feeling of being with Chi Feng, and he has no worries about food and clothing. Chapter 121. After the dishes were ready, everyone ate for a while, and Ida Tenya couldn't help but said, Chi Feng, how did you think of joining the firm now? Chi Feng glanced at Ida Tenya, and then at Shoto Todoroki. Then he said, you are the ones who experienced the sports festival 1 week ago. I don't need to talk about this kind of truth. Chi Feng talked about the sports festival event. Everyone's faces showed solemn expressions. The sports festival event is not over. The alien successfully escaped. Even All Might did not catch up. But the principal said that the strength of the alien creatures is no longer one, and it has never been very difficult to make a comeback again, at least a few years later. Regarding this, people in the world can be a little relieved. After this incident, the world began to want this alien creature. The government named it Loss, a public enemy of mankind. I heard that the school will consider letting us go to the office to experience life. I didn't expect that the school has not implemented it yet. You will start to experience it here. It's really a step forward. Ida Tenya felt that Chi Feng's approach was a bit wrong. But it's not necessarily a good thing. It's always good to get in touch with the world of professional heroes early. Chi Feng smiled and said, Mr. Ida, you are better at being 1 step ahead, so good. A piece of meat from Ida Tenya's mouth fell out with a dazed expression on his face. Although our strength here is generally very strong, the invisible quirk of the boss of villain is really troublesome. Do you have any good suggestions? Shoto Todoroki looked at everyone. Midoriya Izuku thought for a while and said, unless we buy calorimeter glasses, the kind of glasses that can see live heat, but the price is very expensive. Chi Feng said indifferently, you don't need to think about being invisible. I can solve it. If you want that kind of glasses, I can pay for it. I don't need it. Shoto Todoroki refused. Ida Tenya also shook his head and said, it's not convenient for me to wear glasses, so I don't need them either. Hiroshima Eijiro thought for a while and shook his head and said, then I don't want it either. Then don't buy it. If everyone is full, go on the road. Chi Feng stood up. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Hey, Mr. Chi Feng, you used the wrong words on the road, how do you sound weird? Ida Tenya murmured. It's really on the road, is there something wrong? Chi Feng looked at him suspiciously. It seems that there is nothing wrong. Ida Tenya was already unable to complain. After the 5 people finished their meal, they chartered a car and came to Shanyan village. From a distance, the scenery here is good, but it seems that the people in the village are a bit depressed. I don't know if it is because of the bandits. After Chi Feng came to Shanyan village, walking around the village attracted the attention of some villagers, and suddenly an old man walked towards Chi Feng with his eyes bright. Are you from the city? The old man looked at the 5 Chi Feng expectantly and said. Yes, old man, may I ask where your village chief is, we will talk to him. Ida Tenya took the first 2 steps and said, Chi Feng thought that it would be good to take Mr. Ida, the official person in charge. Ah, it's really from the city. I'm the village chief. The old man became excited. He didn't expect someone from the city to finally come after such a long time. He thought that no one would take the task of Shanyan village. But think about it, it's been half a year. No outsiders come to Shanyan village. It seems to have given up here. After half a year, there are people from the city finally. How could he be unhappy? You're the village chief. Ida Tenya's expression changed a little. The old man looked like a foolish man. When they came before, the old man was still watching the old woman next door drying her underwear. No matter how he looked like an old man. That's right, I am the head of the village Comedida. If you have anything you need me to cooperate, I will do my best. The village head patted his chest and said, but he coughed because of too much force. Comida is big. Chi Feng didn't bother to complain. The village chief's name is really strange. I don't understand how this kind of person became the village chief. Shoto Todoroki and others didn't say a word. Midoriya Izuku just felt that the old man was a bit sloppy. As for the name, there were many strange things, and he had heard a lot. Ida Tenya touched his forehead and said after a while, let's talk about the situation in detail from another place. Okay, come to my house. The village head smiled and took Chi Feng and the 5 people to the house. When they arrived at the door of the village head's house, they were all dumbfounded. This is a soil house, probably only 40 square meters. The villagers' houses outside are much smaller and very dilapidated. Are you really the village head? Ida Tenya looked at the head of Comida in disbelief. The head of the village is too bad. It is even poorer than ordinary residents. If the head of Comida doesn't talk about himself, it's the village chief, they will definitely think this is an old bachelor. That's right, I have been qualified for 3 terms of village chief. It lasted for 15 years. Is there a problem? The village chief brought 5 people into the house and said after pouring 5 cups of tea. No wonder, Midoriya Izuku said suddenly, old village chief, is it true that every time the bandits come, they are robbing your family of money, so you have been poorer and poorer every year for the past 15 years? Midoriya Izuku thinks this way. Maybe this village head is a good man. He had a wealth of money, but because of the bandits, he has no money now. It is conceivable that if there is still no one to take this task, the village head may have to sleeping on the street. No, I was so poor. I have been poor for 20 years. The village head said loudly, seeming to feel very proud. Now even Midoriya's face is black, this FCK deserves to be poor. Ida Tenya didn't know what to say. This village chief was indeed very strange. He waved his hand and said, okay, village chief, let's talk about the bandits. Where are they now? How many people are they now, and how strong are they? Quote. Speaking of the bandits, the village chief got his energy. He got up from his stool and said indignantly, this band of bandits has done everything from evil. They have robbed our village for 7 or 8 years. Originally, Shanyan village was prosperous. Depression. Chi Feng didn't speak, and Kamita Tuta continued. They are now in the back mountain of Shanyan village. After crossing that mountain, they are the nest of bandits. I estimate that there should be 40 of them now. Specifically, the number of people is unknown, but each of them is very strong. At least I am not an opponent. There is also the bandit leader who is invisible and very difficult to deal with. I have suffered several losses in his hands. Pointed to a large mountain outside the window. Chi Feng and others have memorized the details. As for what the old man said to lose, it is not that his opponent ignores everything. You are an old man who wants to beat the bandits. What do you think? If this is the case, would you still need people to save it? Chapter 122 Dad, save me. How about you, can you deal with it? If it doesn't work, this old bone of mine can be added, but my current strength is gone. I think I was the most powerful person back then. Now I think about it. Time flies, time is a pig-killing sword. Looking at the head of the village Kamatu with emotion, Chi Feng really wanted to beat him up. This old man is so bragging, what kind of wild way is he? Cough and cough, the village chief, you don't need to participate in this matter. Since we have already asked about it, let's say goodbye. Chi Feng bowed his hand to the village chief and prepared to leave. He didn't want to listen to this guy pretending to be forceful anymore, really. Yes, better than him. Hold on, the village chief said suddenly, it's almost evening. Don't you guys stay and have a meal first? It's not a day or two for the bandits. It's okay to go 1 or 2 hours late. Ida Tenya turned to look at the furnishings and kitchen of the house, and said silently, village chief, do you think you can still eat at home? Why not? Haven't you seen a table as big as I am? The village head pointed to the table in front of him and said. Chi Feng was too lazy to talk to the village head, and went straight out, leaving a sentence before leaving, we will come back after we finish the business. Looking at the back of Chi Feng and others leaving, Komedu's big eyes showed a trace of coldness and passed away. Mr. Chi Feng, I always think this village head has something wrong. Midoriya Izuku said with some worry after leaving Shanyan village. What's wrong with a strange old man? It's not right, maybe there is a problem. There is a problem with his brain. Chi Feng said casually, not caring at all. Ida Tenya said, you can't say that to others, he is the village chief anyway, so let's give them some face. Okay, everyone cheers up and we are about to climb the mountain soon. Chi Feng pointed to the mountain in front of him and said. Shoto Todoroki glanced at the mountain, then looked back at Shanyan village, and after thinking about it, he said, maybe classmate Izuku is right, the village chief does have some problems. Naturally, Chi Feng is not that kind of fool. He obviously saw that the village chief's words and deeds were deliberately pretended, so he didn't want to talk too much with the old man, but in fact he didn't care much. Go to the bandit den to check the situation first, don't make any noise. Chi Feng nodded and said, taking the lead and starting to climb the mountain. When they came to the top of the mountain, Chi Feng and others were dumbfounded. The bandit's den was on the inner side of the mountain. It can be said that it is very close to Shanyan village, which is only 2 or 3 kilometers away. A wooden cottage appeared in the sight of everyone, and 2 sentries stood at the door of the cottage, chatting lazily. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Chi Feng's spiritual sense cannot observe the situation inside, so I don't know how many people are here, and I don't know what to do for a while. When I was about to ask everyone, Shoto Todoroki got up and walked over. I rely on. Chi Feng stunned for a while and then cursed, what are you doing, Mr. Bo, this is the enemy camp, okay to walk over so blatantly. You also know that they are not our opponents. It will be over soon. Shoto Todoroki said indifferently. Chi Feng had to stand up and greet Ida Tenya who were ready to go. After all, it was the first time Midoriya Izuku did this kind of thing. It was inevitable that he was a little nervous, hiding behind the 4 of them at a loss. Chi Feng glanced at him, if you want to be a character like All Might, this little wind and wave must be experienced. Well, I understand. Midoriya Izuku was no longer worried, and plucked up the courage to follow Ida Tenya. The 2 men chatting at the door realized that someone was walking towards them and immediately picked up the sword on the ground. One of them pointed the sword at Chi Feng and others and said, where are you from? What are you doing? Shoto Todoroki didn't say a word, the ice stream extending under his feet instantly frozen them, leaving only one head outside, and then he calmly walked in. Simple and rude. Hiroshima Eijiro gave a thumbs up and walked in. Chi Feng thinks it's a bit simple. It seems that these bandits can be solved by Shoto Todoroki alone. You. Who are you? Some of the 2 who were frozen yelled in horror. The voice instantly spread into the cottage, and all of them rushed out for a while. Chi Feng raised his hand and nodded. There were 53 people in total, a dozen more than the village chief said. This information is really inaccurate. But there is no problem, even 100 people can handle it, let alone 53. Shoto Todoroki said without looking back, maybe the bandit leader is invisible, everyone be careful. Both Kirishima and Izuku became vigilant. Ida Tenya looked at so many people and was thinking about how to make it more comprehensive. The ice current of Shoto Todoroki instantly swept the entire cottage, and then all the 53 people were frozen. It's just a blink of an eye. This is the end, Ida Tenya said with his eyes wide open. Are these people stupid? 2 of these people were frozen at the door. As a result, they didn't have any sense of prevention. They stood and let Shoto Todoroki freeze. Chi Feng's divine sense was released, and everything within 15 meters of the circle was in sight. Suddenly, he saw the invisible person in his divine sense. He was on the left side of Ida Tenya, and it seemed that he wanted to sneak attack. Without saying a word, Chi Feng struck a thunder arc and sprinted towards Ida Tenya's left side. Ida Tenya was shocked. What is Chi Feng doing? Before he could think clearly, the arc of thunder hit a distance of more than 10 centimeters from him, and suddenly a sharp scream came, which shocked the 3 of Ida Tenya. Shoto Todoroki turned around to release the flame quirk, and burned the invisible man for a few seconds. The invisible man instantly became pitch black, showing its original shape. Help me, Dad, help me. The invisible man yelled in pain. He has always played with others and clapped him. As a result, a few little ghosts came and made him like this. He instantly felt danger, howling. Useless things. An unsentimental voice sounded, Chi Feng and others turned to look, and an old man came up from the hillside. Isn't this the village chief? Ida Tenya cried with his eyes wide open, what's the matter? Shoto Todoroki turned and stared at the village chief for a while, sure enough. Mr. Boom, what's going on? Ida Tenya was also a little confused. Shoto Todoroki said faintly, the culprit in this Shanyan village is the old man. To put it bluntly, it is the guard and self-pirate. I guess this invisible man is the old man's son. One father and son are bandits and the other is the village head. Both cooperating with each other is really a good calculation. Oh, one mouthful of an old man, it seems that I am really old. Kometu shook his head, his eyes gradually getting colder. I wanted to kill you, but now it seems unnecessary. Chapter 123. Chi Feng observed the old man. The old man looked old, but there was a strong force somewhere in his body, which seemed to be dormant. You are dead. The invisible man suddenly yelled, sneered again and again. Hiroshima Eijiro kicked him, kicking out several of his teeth, be honest. Ooh, Dad, kill them soon. The invisible man cried. Useless things that keep you from tempering yourself normally. Now you know how to find your father. Kometo snorted and looked at Shoto Todoroki and said, are you the strongest here? Shoto Todoroki didn't speak, nor looked at Chi Feng, so he and Kamadatsu looked at each other calmly. Forget it, I can only say that you are not lucky, and don't be nosy in your next life. Kamita Todo's words just finished, Shoto Todoroki just stepped forward, and the ice stream on his right foot instantly moved towards Kamadato. Great swept away. Small bugs. Kamitayama's big eyes lit up, and the clothes on his body suddenly exploded, and his figure quickly rose up to about 2 meters. The muscles all over the body are bulging, like a muscular man. How can this look like an old man about to enter the coffin? Kamita punched out as a freshman, and the ice stream that hit him quickly was shattered at this moment. Midoriya Izuku struggled for a while before deciding to go up and help, but was stopped by Chi Feng. You still can't control your power. If your hands are scrapped, I won't have anything for you to recover. Yes, Izuku classmate, this matter is covered by me and classmate Boom. Hiroshima Eijiro launched the quirk and rushed towards Kamadato, his hard fist was already punched out. Boom. There was a tremor in the muscles, and Kamadato was slightly surprised. It's not bad, it's such a quirk, but it's far from me in front of me. His right fist exploded with greater power and knocked Kirishima Kakufe against the wooden fence. Shoto Todoroki knew that he had encountered a strong enemy, and the flames swept out from his left hand, enveloping Kamadato in an instant. Double quirk. No wonder you dare to take this task, but even so, it's useless. Kamita's loud voice came, his body shook, and Shoto Todoroki's flames suddenly dissipated. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. What's the matter? Shoto Todoroki's face changed. This guy is not invaded by fire and water, so it's hard to be entangled. Chi Feng stepped forward and said, leave it to me. Want to die? Kamdatu said nonchalantly. In his observation, the double quirk and the hardened quirk were slightly more powerful, and the others seemed to be average. Chi Feng didn't talk nonsense, he came to Kamita Tuta's body in an instant, and hit his chest with a thunder and lightning punch. Puff. Kamadata felt a truck hit him, and his chest sank instantly. How could it be possible? Why is the power of this little devil so strong, and it also has the effect of paralysis? Now his chest area is already paralyzed, and he can't feel any pain. Chi Feng sneered. Regardless of the thunder and lightning attached to his hand, it was actually aided by air manipulation. In this punch, the compressed air was compressed by the real power. Dad. The invisible man yelled and looked at the knocked up dad inconceivably. Although his body is not as good as a year, his strength is still very strong. This is the result of the accumulation of time. It can be said that the older he gets, the bigger, the stronger the power. At this age, the power of a punch is unimaginable, and this kid actually hit his father with a punch to vomit blood. What kind of power is this? Who are you? Kamita said, clutching his chest, eyes full of shock. Only he himself knows his own power. His power is the kind that the longer he lives, the more he accumulates. Even his body is the same. At this moment, the strength of his body is far beyond ordinary people, but he is dented by the punch of this kid, unless the power of this kid is above him. But it's impossible to think about it. The opponent's quirk seems to be thunder and lightning, with a paralyzing effect. Although this kind of quirk is rare, it is definitely not a force type. What I said, how come this one-star mission has not been completed after so many years? It turns out that you are the variable here. I am afraid that even if Samsung's office takes over this mission, the people who come will suffer a lot. Chi Feng sneered. You guessed right. I have always planned Shanyan Village alone. I originally wanted to spend some leisure time and collect money from these stupid villagers for the rest of my life. I didn't expect that someone would always disturb me. Another wave, but since the people they sent have returned without success, fewer people have come, and those powerful offices, they disdain to take on such tasks, so they have been here forever. Kamdatu sighed and said, I know that I can live in a few years, but I don't want to fall into your hands. Today, let you see my strength in 92 years. Ida Tenya suddenly shouted, everyone, get out of here. Quote. Shoto Todoroki looked at Chi Feng. Here, Chi Feng is the strongest, so Chi Feng has the right to speak, whether to leave or leave a word. The four of you wait for me in the distance. I can't show my strength here. Chi Feng said without looking back. The thunder light on his body began to shine. This old man's strength might be more than that. He must do his best. Let's go. Shoto Todoroki didn't hesitate, turned around and left. If even Chi Feng couldn't beat him, none of them would want to leave alive today. But Mr. Chi Feng, Midoriya Izuku wanted to say something. Hiroshima Eijiro ran over at this time. We are here only to hinder Chi Feng classmates. We will support when the situation is not right. Midoriya Izuku gritted his teeth. He only realized today that he seemed to be useless at all. What is the difference between him and the useless man who cannot control his power? This is the same as Teacher Aizawa said. If you want to save others, you must first have the strength not to get hurt. After the four of them left, Chi Feng's face became solemn, and Kometu, not far away from him, exuded a strong sense of oppression. This sense of oppression gave Chi Feng the feeling that the other party was already broken, exerted all his life's strength. Maybe after this time, whether he wins or loses, he won't live long. Kamdetu glanced at his scorched son on the ground and sighed in his heart, "Son, although you are not a weapon, you are my son after all. I can't watch you being taken away by them, although I know that this day will be soon I will come, but I didn't expect it to come so soon." Ha ha. Kometu laughed. Suddenly his eyes rushed towards Chi Feng with a cold look, and in just an instant, he came to Chi Feng's body, and his fists wrapped in huge power hurriedly slammed towards Chi Feng's chest. He also wants Chi Feng to taste the feeling of being hit by a heavy hammer. Chapter 124. Chi Feng was shocked. At this speed, it was very difficult for him to react. Now that the opponent hits him with a punch, where does he dare to have half a point of reservation? Thor's return is fully activated, and his right hand seems to have a high temperature. The power of the white smoke and air manipulation was also punched out. The two fists collided at this moment, and Chi Feng immediately spit out a mouthful of blood, and his whole body flew backwards into the cottage like a cannonball. After breaking through the wooden wall, he did not know his life or death. Chi Feng Jun. Midoriya Izuku and Ida Tenya yelled, with great worry in their hearts. Shoto Todoroki had no expression on his face, he didn't know what he was thinking, but his fists were tightly clenched. He didn't expect that this was the result of the first task. He felt that there was something wrong with this task from the beginning, it was a one-star task. No one took it for half a year. As Kamidata Tada said, here are all self-directed and self-acted, guarded and stolen. Who would want the village chief to do this kind of thing? And when she met Kamidata Tada, it was completely two people's character. Thank you. Shoto Todoroki knew that he had to take action. Only by joining forces with Chi Feng could he survive, otherwise they would all die. It's a misunderstanding. I didn't expect a student to have such a strong strength, but it is impossible to survive with this punch of mine. Kamdetu blew his right hand and was punched by Chi Feng just now. His bones were a little bit painful as a result of the beating. Just when Shoto Todoroki was about to take a shot, the cottage house suddenly burst, and a black shadow flew directly towards the sky, and disappeared quickly. What's the matter? Kamita can't fly, but I can feel that the shadow that left just now is not the kid who was killed by him, but someone else. Shoto Todoroki and others also found out, but they didn't know who the dark shadow was. When Midoriya Izuku rushed into the cottage room, where was the shadow of Chi Feng? Mr. Chi Feng is gone. Midoriya Izuku cried out in a panic. After the three of Ida Tenya came over, they also found that Chi Feng was really missing, as if he was taken away by the dark shadow. Damn it, it seems a powerful guy has been run away. I don't know when he hid in it. Kamidata knew that he could not let his son stay here after this incident. Too many things have been exposed here. Don't stay long. But before that, I'm going to kill you guys. Kameditami walked towards Shoto Todoroki. Midoriya Izuku squeezed his fist and immediately took 2 steps forward. You actually killed Mr. Chi Feng. Mr. Chi Feng. Kamita said with a loud voice, it's that kid, kill it when you kill it, what's the big deal, it's not the first time I have killed someone. After hearing Kamidata's words, Midoriya Izuku was even more sure that Chi Feng was killed. He suddenly rushed out, covering his right hand with an indescribable force, and when he came to Kamidata's face, it was a punch. Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. It's another death-seeking guy. Kamidata sighed and punched out again. There was a small sound of click, Kamidata's heart shook wildly, and his hand was actually broken. Midoriya Izuku slammed Kamita into the air with a fist with tears in his eyes, and then his right hand was already purple. Although his hand was also lost this time, he could feel that it was not as serious as it used to be. Ah, it's really touching. Kamdetu stood up, his right hand deformed suddenly shocked and he recovered. How could this happen? Izuku-kun's punch should be very powerful, how can the opponent recover? Ida Tenya said in shock, this is really over. Midoriya Izuku took 2 steps back weakly, and he was a little weak. Kamita Tada himself understood that although he looked very powerful on the surface, he had already overdrawn his strength for 92 years. This time he would use up all of it. After he was used up, he could only live for a week before he would die. Midoriya Izuku and others felt desperate. They didn't expect that such a small Yin village would have such a strong villain, which was beyond everyone's expectations. Woo! Just when Midoriya and others were desperate, the sound of breaking wind rang in the distance, and a black shadow quickly approached. This is. Ida Tenya wiped his glasses, and the dark shadow had already arrived above them. Senior Dark Knight. Midoriya Izuku exclaimed with joy. As long as Senior Dark Knight comes, there should be no problem. Although I don't know the strength of Senior Dark Knight, it is a kind of fascinating trust. Suddenly Midoriya Izuku remembered about Chi Feng. Senior Knight, how is Chi Feng? In fact, Chi Feng is not in good condition. His right hand has been fractured and his injury is very serious. This guy may be much stronger than the muscular man of the Villain Alliance. He's okay, I put him in a safe area. Chi Feng said casually. He has no intention of chatting with his classmates now. The strength of this guy is beyond imagination. For now, it is better than the twisted shark he killed. Even stronger. Even in the Seven Saints, it may be the first or second existence. Are you the one who ran away before? Kamita squinted at Chi Feng floating in the air. He can fly. This is trickier. He can't fly and suffers a lot of losses, and now the power began to go downhill, and the time was almost up. Take it to death. Chi Feng didn't bother to talk nonsense with him. A minute delay would be more dangerous. Along with the airflow, the long sword behind it fell on his left hand, which was just a cut. The powerful sword wave quickly came to Kamita Tuta. Kamada too can shake his fist hard, but he could not ignore the power of the weapon. He measured his body and dodged it, leaving a deep mark on the ground. Izuku-san, who is this senior darkness? Ida Tenya didn't know who this guy in a black cloak and helmet was. He is the heroes of the Dark Knight legend of the Dark Knight, doesn't Ida know? Midoriya looked at Ida Tenya in surprise. What? He is the underworld. Ida Tenya is worthy of being a wise man, and immediately thought, so that office is also Underworld's office. Yes, we are now helping the Dark Knight Senior's office. Midoriya Izuku nodded. Ida Tenya is a bit entangled. Underworld is the person wanted by the professional heroes, and he is also the person his brother wants to arrest, but he is doing missions in his office. Student Boom, did you know it a long time ago? Ida Tenya looked at Shoto Todoroki on the side. Yes, if it weren't for the firm of Underworld, I wouldn't be interested in joining the garbage firm of this star. Shoto Todoroki said decisively and realistically. It seems that I am the only one being kept in the dark. Ida Tenya raised her head and said, not knowing whether it was pain or helplessness. Chapter 125. Seeing Kamita dodging his wave of sword, Chi Feng cut out 3 wave of sword again, and at the same time, the air manipulation quickly extended, taking all the air around him into his hands. Seeing the other party chasing after another 3 waves of swords, Kamedito became a little annoyed, floating in the sky and can't get down, how can he fight? Is it necessary for him to use something to smash into the sky? Dodge these 3 sword waves first. When Kamita too was about to avoid him, he suddenly found that his body was difficult to move. He immediately knew that this was the ghost of the other party. It seemed that the air and air around him belonged to that guy. Under control. Kamidata was shocked and broke free in just a few seconds, but in just a few seconds, although he escaped 2 waves of swords, a wave of swords still struck him. On the right arm, this sword wave is twice as strong as the previous 2. Puff. The blood flashed, and Kamita's big right arm fell to the ground. He couldn't calm down anymore. He howled in pain, and he could hear everything within a kilometer, even the residents of Shanyan village. Look in the direction of the bandit cottage. Losing a hand is equivalent to losing half of his combat power. Chi Feng breathed a sigh of relief. In this way, even if Kamita Tao Da is abolished, he no longer has to worry about the next thing. I'm going to kill you. Kamita's head burst into tears, his feet exploded and jumped towards the sky, trying to kill Chi Feng in the air. Chi Feng sneered, your time is over, let me draw you a full stop. Dead. Kamita hit Chi Feng with a big punch, very fast. Chi Feng measured his body and floated out. Kamita's fist was directly missed, and then Chi Feng slashed it down. He also cut off the other hand of Kamita's head, and blood spewed out. Kamedu's big eyes fell to the ground blankly. He knew that he was finished, and his son and the people in this cottage were all finished. Senior Dark Knight is really amazing. Hiroshima Eijiro said admiringly, and was directly attracted by fans. Shoto Todoroki already knows in his heart. The legend of the knight is as rumored, and his strength is unfathomable. Maybe the position of the 7th saint is also occupied at will. If you really use your strength, you can move a few more positions forward. Won. We finally won. Ida Tenya thought everyone was going to die, but he didn't expect such a turning point. Chi Feng fell from the sky, looking at Shoto Todoroki, and several people said, you go to Shanyan village first, I will let Chi Feng come to you in a while, now I have something to do. Midoriya Izuku hesitated, but still nodded. After the rest of the people left, Chi Feng walked to Kamde Dai, patted his face and said, are you not convinced? Kamita gritted his teeth and said, if you want to kill, you have to pluck it, as long as you don't send me to the police station. I only have 1 week to live. Chi Feng patted his face again, are you convinced? Read more at hotmtlnovel.zi. Laozi has lived for 92 years, but he has never served anyone. Kamidata Tuta suddenly yelled. Dad, don't give up and kill him. The invisible man fell on the side and cried. Chi Feng turned his head and said, don't worry, it will be your turn in a while. After that, he slapped Kamita's big face with several slaps. Kamita's head almost collapsed, and he would suffer such a big insult even after he lost. A few minutes later, Kamita said, I took it, I really took it. Saving points plus 100, the rescued person Kamita is big. Okay. Chi Feng smiled, came to the invisible man, repeating what he had done before. Then there are the more than 50 people in the cottage. About half an hour later, Chi Feng stood up contentedly. This time, Shanyan village had a good harvest. He now has 3,000 rescue points, plus the sports festival and the previous some fragmentary rescue points add up to a total of 4,200. The first reason why Chi Feng took the task was to train himself, the second was to train his classmates, and the third was naturally to earn salvation points. Originally, he was not in a hurry to earn salvation points, but after fighting with the Twisted Shark, and the ghost Okayama behind the Twisted Shark, to the recent sports festival event, he was urged to become stronger. Especially the alien creature in the sports festival incident. Since he escaped, Chi Feng faintly felt that it would come back again. At that time, the other party wanted to kill him, but was blocked by Shengquan. Otherwise, Chi Feng would be favored by heaven. Damn it. So Chi Feng doesn't dare to have any luck. Now that he can become stronger, he will become stronger. With the current 4,200 salvation points, Chi Feng can directly raise Thor's return and air manipulation to LV5. As long as it reaches LV5, Chi Feng's strength will double, whether it is Thor's return or air manipulation will become more powerful. Chi Feng didn't buy the Quirk promotion pill now. He glanced at these wailing guys lying on the ground, and then in the left-hand area, the 50-odd people all floated in the air, floating behind Chi Feng and walking towards Shanyan village. Senior Dark Knight is here. Midoriya Izuku greeted him, and then he saw more than 50 people floating behind the Dark Knight legend, among them Kamidatami. You call Muto, that's the one who took you to the task. He should have given you the number. He has to come forward for this matter. After finishing Chi Feng, he threw the 50-odd people on the ground, and then flew away directly. Ida Tenya immediately took out the phone and made a call. Muto rushed over here as soon as he got the news. I didn't expect that this little Shan Yin village would have such a powerful character. Ida Tenya said with some fear. Small hidden in the wild, big hidden in the world, no matter where there are unknown things. Shoto Todoroki said flatly. At that time, he wanted to fight hard, but he didn't expect Underworld to be ambushing here. In his thoughts, Dark Knight Legend must have investigated Shanyan village, so he knew that there must be some problems in it, so he was lying in wait a long time ago. Chi Feng has a close relationship with Underworld, so Underworld can't ignore Chi Feng. Shoto Todoroki feels that his guess is inseparable. Chi Feng seems to have no background, but it may be beyond their expectations. Comrades, I'm back. Chi Feng shook his left hand and said weakly. This weakness is not pretended, it is really weak. As Chi Feng, he punched Kamdetu with all his strength, and then he directly fractured his right hand, and then battled Kamdetu as the legend of the night, and brought more than 50 people down the mountain, but it was very laborious. Chi Feng told the truth about his strength from Kamida's mouth, and finally knew why he could win. If Kamida's power does not decay, Chi Feng's air manipulation will not even be able to control him for a few seconds, and he will not be able to cut one of his arms. The power of 1992, but then again, the power of 92 years. It's just that, maybe Chi Feng is too good, and he might be dead when replaced by someone else. Chi Feng, are you all right? Midoriya Izuku and Kirishima hurriedly greeted them. Chi Feng shook his body, his right hand swayed along the swing of his body, apparently out of control. Haha, it's the same as mine. Midoriya Izuku also shook his body, and his arms shook likewise. Chi Feng laughed twice and looked at Midoriya and said, Brother Midoriya, I was very touched by the punch you punched for me at the time. Also, no. Midoriya Izuku felt a little embarrassed.